Well, hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live stream show. I am sorry that we are starting a little bit early. A little bit late. I was having technical difficulties. My mic was being a little weird. And then it was like, try restarting your computer. So I restarted the computer. And then, of course, Microsoft is all like, oh, you don't have the password to your Microsoft account? I was like, no, but I have the password to my computer. And then it wouldn't let me on to the bloody thing. So it took me like 30 retries to actually get the stupid thing to turn on. Microsoft, what the hell are you doing? Anyway, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's another Wednesday midweek live stream show here at Potsquatch Growers. We're doing it again with StreamYards. We're bringing on guests. We've got a very, very special guest today coming on, a close friend of mine, Russell Langhammer. Where do we start on sharing the story here? Used to play professional football, was a professional bodybuilder, hell, for years worked in the airline industry as well, has become an advocate, a huge advocate, a crusader even, I would even say, down in Texas for legalization in terms of medical cannabis, medical magic mushrooms, something that has played a huge part in his life in terms of recovery. He had open heart surgery, lives with a pacemaker now. Every doctor was saying, you're going to be dead, you're going to die. And wait, he's not dead, and he's still here. And he's coming on the show today, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, everyone, without further ado, let's welcome our friend, Russell Langhammer. Hey, Russell, what's happening, baby? Welcome to the show. How you doing, my friend?
Guten Tag, brother.
Was ist los, meine Butter?
Just finished working out, dropped the Sabrina off at work, getting ready to sit down and talk about cannabis and magic mushrooms with you.
All right, my friend. So let's just jump right into it. Okay. Have you always been a fan of magic mushrooms and cannabis, or was that like a sort of later on with your health stuff where it kind of started playing part of your life?
Cannabis has always been a part of my life. The magic mushrooms didn't come till later. In the sports arena, we loved using cannabis, but we had to do it secretly.
Yeah.
And for a long time,
we get in trouble for that.
But after open heart surgery, doctors gave me not much of a chance to live. So a friend of mine suggested, hey man, why don't you try microdosing psilocybin mushrooms along with your cannabis? Hell man, what I got to lose?
Yeah, right.
So in 2020, in January 2nd of 2020, I started microdosing psilocybin mushrooms and using my cannabis. I love flower and I do a lot of dabs, man. Fentanyl, FICO, but I noticed after about 4 months, I was in Germany, man. I was back in Germany after open heart surgery, and people were like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
So I documented it, and I hooked up with the cannabis people in Germany and Austria and Hungary. And
now let's talk about that, because I also lived in Germany for a few years. Now, my experience, so I was there in my earlier 20s, so that would have been a little over a decade ago now. But my memory anyway, back then, there were people who loved cannabis. There were cannabis lovers in Germany, but it was kind of underground. It was sort of the social equivalent of cocaine, if not almost worse in certain people's minds in terms of the social stigma. I remember this one time I was down in Bavaria, and I was with my first wife at the time, and I sparked up this fat joint just on the fucking street. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, whatever, and then she just looks at me, what are you doing? So I had to go hide in the farmer's fields of Bavaria to toke up, and I'd come back like, hey, let's go to the Ruwu now. I need some munchies. What was it like discovering the cannabis community? Did you find that it was kind of a guarded thing there too, or was it easier for you to delve in because it was a little after the time that I would have been in Germany?
Well, when you were there, they didn't have the patience. Now they have the patience, okay? The medical.
Yeah.
Thanks to my brother, Gunther Weigelein, he got it legalized for patients. But Germans are very, very strict. They still, how can I put this nicely? They're assholes when it comes to cannabis, man.
It's true.
They are. You get caught, and they just legalized it, and they're dragging their feet because the police, we call them the bully. The police, they don't want to conform. The police don't want to work with them. When they pull you over there, they take your blood. When they pull you over for a traffic stop, they take your blood. So they know everything that's in your system.
this Canuck would not react well to that. And I find it funny though, because like alcohol, now mind you, as we all know, Uncle Potsquatch likes to have himself a drink. I'm having a beer right now. Alcohol is so socially acceptable over there. It's quite astonishing. Like it's just part of the thing. Drinking at breakfast is normal. Crowder schnapps at lunch is a thing. I remember I was working for this one gaming company. And then I got called in after my first week to my boss's office, and he's mad at me. And he was mad because I hadn't been drinking at work. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, what do you think that cooler underneath your desk is? And I said, I don't know, for putting my lunch in. And he goes, no, it's filled with beer. I have it restocked every single night. Why aren't you drinking? It's culturally acceptable to drink 2 liters of beer at work. And I was like, so if I tell you I'm not doing anything for the rest of the day and I'm going to go get half cut in my office, you cool with that? He's like, you better. And I was like, all right, I'll play catch up then. And so, I don't rag on alcohol. I love alcohol, but at the same time, it's certainly more harmful than cannabis is. And yet there's still this social stigma. I mean, it's odd, right? So what was it like getting to delve into the sort of social connections? Was it hard to find people in Germany that were associated with cannabis at first for yourself? Like, I mean,
ich bin ein stolzer Deutsch. I'm German, man. And I know, but thankfully, thanks to social media, I've done a few interviews here in the States. I was accepted over there. They knew who I was.
Good.
And they knew, but Germans are not very trusting people, and you know why.
No, I know. It normally takes about 6 to 8 beers to get them to warm up to you. It was funny. Like when I was over there, they're all like, who the hell is this happy Canadian making fucking jokes all the time? Fucking Canadisch sprechen piece of scheiße, And I'm like, it's okay. Then you get them drunk and then they're fine. But anyway, let's take a moment here. We're just going to say hi to everybody really quick who's joining us in the show. I'm just going to scroll back here. Maybe people have been talking a lot, so give me a second here. All right, the Red Maple Grove, hell yeah, good to see you. What's up, Kenneth R. Knox? What's up, Ganjanana and your mama? What's up, Einstein? All right, Jansen Dennis, good to see you, buddy. Daleski OG, good to see you, buddy. All right, Mud Swatting in the house, that one stuff, good to see you. All right, Miss Case Garden, afternoon to you. Jansen Dennis says, my back is killing me. Pulled 5.5 ounces of bubble hash the last 2 days, but it was well worth it. Hey, yeah, man, pulling those bubble bags is tricky, but I mean, and it stacks on the system, but it's a good time.
I use those.
Einstein says Langhammer, strange last name on the dude. No, not really. He's from German.
Aber natürlich, Langhammer. It means blacksmith in Prussian.
Einstein's Swedish, so, that's where he's getting confused, maybe. All right. It says, so if you translate that in Swedish, Einstein says it means tall hammer. Well, you are tall and you do hammer those irons, my friend. So there we go. What's up, that one stuff? What's up? Anyone I've missed, WB Growers, good to see you. Anyone I've missed, by the way, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to scroll through this really quickly to get back on track. What's up, Morgotha? You haven't been on the show in a while, girl. Welcome to the show. She lives in America too. She's one of my witches. She's my Nordic witch. Not bitch, witch, everybody. We are talking pagan beliefs here. All right. What's up, little Chewy Stewie? What's up, Eugene Dolan? Have I missed anybody? Let's keep on going. Anyone who I've missed, I love you. We're just going to jump ahead and get back into it. Oh, hey, Felicia, what's up? All right. So, Russell, let's start earlier on in your career. Let's go back. And I know you don't like sharing so much about certain things. So let's just give people a quick run through of kind of your origin story of what your life was like. Obviously, you liked cannabis, being a professional sports athlete. You had to do it in secret because everybody gets mad about that.
Well, I worked for the airline, too. Don't forget.
Yeah. Oh, do they get mad about weed and that, too?
Yes, they do.
Oh. Man, here I thought that everyone in the airline industry was just getting high all the time. Flying
well, the cool ones still are, but they'll give you pain pills. When I broke my back and I got my head injury, they gave me Oxycontin, they gave me Dilaudid, they gave me Norcos, what was it? Valium, cyclobenzaprine. They'll give you all that stuff, and you're allowed to push airplanes and deal with all that. But you're not allowed to use cannabis, which I think is bullshit.
Oh, I agree with you. It's total bullshit because that shit fucks up your head. I mean, I haven't done half the shit you just listed, but half of them I'm aware of. And you're doped up beyond all living hell at that. And then they certified that as good to go. but you want to have a little token. Oh no, you're a danger.
But Josh, those pills turned me into an asshole, man. They turned me into a real fucking dick.
Can we talk about that? Do you mind sharing about that? Like,
No.
share that part. Share that part.
They put me on these pills and they told me, dude, we're going to take care of you. You know, I broke L4, L5, and S1. And this was in 2000. We had a snowstorm. Texans don't deal with snow, man. We don't fucking know what it's like.
No.
So I fell 17 feet off a ladder bringing in an airplane, and they're like, we'll take care of you. But what they didn't tell me is that they put me in a pharmaceutical merry-go-round that completely changed me, turned me into a real jerk. The company loved it because I could perform my job duties. But dude, I lost my wife, I lost my family, and eventually I lost my job because they were like, you got to leave, man. You're a drug addict. And I'm like, because of you fucking people, I'm a drug addict.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a real thing with these pharmaceutical things. I mean, at the end of the day, they may in the short term be a stopgap measure, because that's what I'm going to call it. It's not really directly treating anything. It's just making it so you can function with the injuries that you are currently having in your body. But it does begin to change you. And like, one, I'm sorry for all of your losses, but you're living a better life now, though, right? Maybe let's share.
Much better.
Yeah. So tell us. So you had the heart thing. So
what happened was they I had an infection in my mouth from chewing tobacco. I chewed tobacco for 32 years. And in 2009, I woke up, I had a big ball in my throat, like a baseball. So they were like, oh shit.
Yeah.
They took the ball out and they put a PICC line in, and I did chemo for 9 weeks to kill the infection and the cancer or whatever that had occurred. And I was going to go back to work. Everybody was like, hey, how you doing? I'm doing good. All of a sudden, my heart started failing after all the vancomycin, the chemo, all the PICC line.
Yeah,
my heart started just going bad. So they told me, you need a pacemaker. They put the pacemaker in, and Josh, believe it or not, after 2 years, the pacemaker went bad.
Wow.
And it's been a fucking battle.
Were you still on the pharmaceuticals when you had the pacemaker kind of stuff? Like, was it the drugs that were doing that, or it just crapped out on you? Or?
No, the drugs destroyed my heart. Not only did it turn me into a different person, I mean, I had a brain injury, but the drugs turned me into a narcissist. They turned me into a fucking asshole. You do things that, I mean, let's be honest, dude. You do and say things that you would never do on cannabis when you're taking pharmaceuticals.
Oh yeah. Well, if you look at that big court case that just happened, where they just put the guy in jail forever. He was a lawyer. He was a pillar of the community, at least in public eyes. But he was doing what? Yeah. What was he doing? Like 30 to 60 oxys or code or something like that a day. And I'm sitting here going like, man, like I get the human body's adaptive and it can kind of get used to these high levels of things. But if you hear him in court, right, and the judge even referenced it in his final statement he goes, look, I genuinely believe that maybe you're not the man you are when you're on drugs, right? But and they were directly sort of talking about that. But it is true, though. Like, these things do change us, right? So how did you discover cannabis was a way back and psychoglobin was a way back? Like, share with us how that change began to happen, how you started to kind of connect with who you really are at your core foundations.
Well, I went to rehab in 2015, and I got to the point where I decided I need to get off these fucking drugs. Yeah. And the doctors told me, you don't know, you got to have it because you got a pacemaker. You got to have it because you got to have it. And they sold me. I followed their orders.
Yeah.
And finally, in 2017, they gave me something. They were weaning me off Valium because when Trump became president, he did an executive order. You cannot take benzos and opiates together. This was the beginning of the opiate problem here in the States.
Yeah.
And before fentanyl started flooding. Well, I went to the doctor and I told him I want off all this shit. And they're like, okay. But you got to be careful because the benzos will kill you. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't tell me that when you put me on them. Oh, well, yeah. So they gave me something to sleep because I couldn't sleep. When you're weaning off benzos, it feels like your skin's coming off.
Oh,
So
okay,
they gave
yeah.
me something to sleep, and it put me in a coma for 9 days. And my wife was freaking out. They put me in the hospital, put me in a straitjacket. I woke up after 9 days, and my wife was feeding me in the hospital here, and they thought I was crazy, Josh. They
Yeah.
thought I was crazy. So I went home, and I decided, okay, there's got to be a better way. So I joined a local normal group here in Texas.
What's that? Is that like a pro cannabis group
It's
there,
a
or
National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. And I didn't know what
okay?
else to do. I followed them
Yeah.
on Facebook and Instagram. So I went, and here's his grandfather. Okay. People, they know me. These kids know me. They watched me play ball and watched me bodybuild. And here I'm at their event, and I'm like, I got a story. They're like, does anybody have a story to talk about cannabis? And I said, I do. I just beat opiates and benzos using cannabis.
Yeah.
Dude, I got a standing ovation. And then they introduced me to this wonderful concentrate called dabs. And man, I was like, well, fuck, the dabs feels just as good as the Oxycontin. To me,
yeah.
it does. It does to me. I mean,
Yeah.
bro, I'll give you a little example. When I got out of open heart surgery, they put me in ICU here at Baylor, and I felt like the alien, you know? And
Yeah.
they gave me a button. They said, what do you want? I said, whatever you're giving me. After the third day, I started doing my I had not a vape pen, I had a dab pen.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I have a terp pen. And man, that saved my butt. And the doctors were like,
you could use it anywhere too. You can get away with one of these things pretty simply,
well,
right?
but see, most doctors don't like it. I mean, they're not trained in cannabis, and luckily, my doctor's young. He's from India, where they love ganja.
Yeah.
They do. They love it over there, and he's young and hip, and he's like, go ahead, use your cannabis. I started using FICO, high doses of FICO, and it kept my inflammation down. Well, they gave me last rites in March of 2019. They said, you're done. The family came over from Germany. It was all dramatic, but
everyone was preparing the fact of you're dead. You're going to be dying. Like,
but now, bro, me and my wife, we just signed a contract with a producer that's going to make a 6-part documentary about me and my wife and my journey.
Hell yeah.
Cannabis and psilocybin mushrooms.
Congratulations, by the way. I mean, that's great that you're getting the story out too, because it's an important story to share though too, right? Because, you know, like for example, one thing I'll share is like when I started this channel, what feels like a million moons ago now, when I first started getting people kind of coming in on the show and watching the show and sending me emails and stuff, like that was the huge response I was getting, is that a lot of people were recovering from dependency issues with these hard-based opiates and all these things and other PTSD stuff. So like a lot of ex-military guys, a lot of guys who were actually part of SWAT teams, spent their careers like breaking down grow-ops and gangbangers, but then it scarred them mentally. And then, you know, cannabis then became this very prevalent and psychoglobin magic mushrooms, DMT, acid, even people are microdosing these days too. I mean, and it became this sort of therapeutic thing for them, right? Like, so it is a legitimate thing that I often say it doesn't necessarily work for everybody in that way, right? Like, I don't want to declare to everyone that it's just some miracle thing that's just going to work for you automatically. I mean, for me, for example, right? Like magic mushrooms don't really do anything to address my depression or anxiety, but that's because mine is psychologically based and is a function of the way my brain works. So shrooms, if anything, just kind of make me feel good, but doesn't really address that. But for many people, though, dealing with these other things, though, it is a very legitimate thing. I mean, because you microdose pretty much every day now, don't you?
And just to get to the gym today, I'll give you a great example. We're in springtime here. It's 86 degrees, okay? Which is what, 28, 27 Celsius for you guys?
Yeah.
But we have a cold front every once in a while. My dog hears your dog. You hear a puppy, don't you? It's okay.
I muted my mic so I can.
That's okay. This is Shotzi. Shotzi hears your dog and she's like, "Whoa, I got a friend to play with."
That's right. You're hearing little Black Betty. She's a sassy. Oh, that one's Mogwai. They're brother and sister. Puppies, come lie down. Come lie down. It's okay. Everything's good. All right. There we go. But so simply put, are you microdosed right now, Russell?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I've got a cold. I had a sinus cold, and the wife woke me up late. She let me sleep. She had breakfast ready. I started taking my supplements, and I did, man. I felt like shit. So I took an extra microdose today. And I did a little extra dab. And you know what? I made it. I had a great workout. Me and my niece pumped it up. We sweated up. I still haven't even gotten out of my clothes yet.
Hell yeah.
And I made it. And that makes me feel happy. I'm proud of Hammer for doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wanted to lay in bed today, Josh.
Oh, I feel it. Well, when I talked to you last night, I was like, hey, man, like, I mean, if you're too sick to do the show, like, I mean, don't worry. I totally understand that.
I never give up, man. I never give up. I think that has a lot to do with the Kraut in me, the German. But I was also blessed to have a young coach back in the early 70s when my mom was trying to, keep us here in the States. I had a coach that took me under his wing and taught me. All right. Taught me discipline, taught me how to be a good athlete, because that was my ticket,
Yeah.
I was a kid who spoke a different language and was being picked on. I started working out, started getting a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
Sports really took care of me. But the sports world is the one who's going to benefit from the cannabis and the psilocybin.
Oh, totally.
I know. Have you been following the UFC fighters lately?
A little bit, yeah. Like, I know that they've basically, is it not? I think they've ruled that it's allowed now for UFC fighters to partake. And I know in the boxing world, cannabis. And I mean, Mike Tyson's also been a big proponent to that, speaking on behalf of these types of things. And like one of the things he shared, he's like, man, like I wish I would have had weed back in the day when I was going into my fights, because like, I mean, it would have, helped me level it out, because he himself also, struggled with like anger issues and aggression issues and all of that kind of stuff throughout his training and all of that, right? Like, but also, there was a message here. I just want to share this. So Muskoka James says, I tell everyone who will listen about how shrooms saved my life. I microdose a few times every few weeks to keep cluster headaches from coming. It's 100% the only thing that actually works for me.
See? Amen, brother. Thank you for sharing that, because that's what worked for me too.
Yeah, well, and cluster headaches, I mean, I'm aware of the disorder. It's actually quite rare. One of my close friends over in Holland actually struggles with the same thing, and they're
But people take Botox for that shit, man. Botox is nasty.
Oh, well, it's basically what? Isn't it like snake venom?
It's botulism, and they're taking that to calm down the muscle activity. Why? When you can do this, bro. And let me see I grabbed this. I was running late to the show, guys. My apologies. Here's some ones that I grew recently.
Oh, beautiful.
These are golden teachers.
I was going to say they look like golden teachers.
And the golden teachers, they calm you down. They get rid of pain. But I found for energy, there's this new South African strain that I can't pronounce.
That's okay. I won't judge you.
Wait a minute. Here it is. Huatla. Huatla?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, here in the States, the spores are legal.
Yeah.
Spores are legal. It's when they get to this stage and people start distributing them is when the police have a problem with it. So
yeah.
But I'm not a lawyer, and I'm definitely not a master. Okay, now we got dog dueling banjos here with the dogs. Yeah. I'm not a master of this. I have learned so much with my microdoses. I macrodose too. If I feel like I can't take a nap, my wife wants to go somewhere, we need to do something, and instead of drinking coffee, I'll take a macrodose.
For those who are watching, maybe describe the differences and sizings on that.
I'm going to grab. Yeah. I'm going to grab the pills. I apologize.
Oh, sure, perfect. Yeah, he's grabbing some, everybody. I'm going to go grab my microdose, aka a beer. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves, everybody. Hey, don't stop.
Okay, sorry about that, Josh. What I do
There we go. Okay, I'm back.
What I do, brother, the minute I wake up, I take that. Okay, can everybody see? That is 0.5 grams.
0.5. So we got a half gram of powdered psilocybin mushrooms hanging out inside that gel tab. Okay.
And then 4 hours later, before I go to the gym, I'll take this, which is 0.25.
All right. Okay.
And then if I need any more, I'll take this.
What's that one?
That's 1/8 of an ounce. 0.35.
Yeah.
So by that, I know exactly what I'm taking. I don't, and I remember when I was doing the raw, I would just chew. We were in Budapest and we were going down to breakfast, and I'm like, okay, I got to do my microdose. And I took too much, and I was walking down the steps because I won't take the elevators in Hungary. You know why? And I'm walking down the steps, and we get down there. My heart rate was going, and I mean, this is 4 months after open heart surgery. And that microdose was just a little too much. And I can remember sitting there
getting kind of tracers going on. You're like, oh, man.
Whoa, John, just roll with it, Homer. But you know what? I've never had a bad trip yet. Luckily, I haven't.
I had a bad trip once, but this was back when we took shrooms for fun. Like, we weren't using it for medicinal applications. We were, when I was a kid growing up, magic mushrooms were something we did, but it was like a thing you did for fun. So anyway, we were like, the new Star Wars movie came out where Yoda had the lightsaber battle. And we were like, man, we got to eat some shrooms and we should go watch this movie. So I think we each had like 3.5 grams of shrooms, right? So we ate 1/8 the shrooms, and we're sitting there, and holy shit, is it hitting hard. And then we're like watching this movie, just so overwhelmed, right? Then these little dipshits down the way light up a joint in the theater. So they start smoking dope inside the theater, and there's like little kids. So normally, like, I'm a pro weed person. I'm the Potsquatch, but like I in front of kids in a theater, like, that's just inappropriate. So I would have gotten up and, said something. So I go to stand up. I can't stand up, bro. I'm just like, oh no, this is not good. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll just let it happen because there's nothing I can do. I'm macromated into this chair right now. And so they see us. There's 4 of us. We're all high as shit. We're all fucked up on shrooms. So they assume it was us smoking the weed in the theater.
Of course.
They go to kick us out of the theater. And I'm trying so hard. I can barely speak words at this moment. I'm like, no, it's the people down there. I'm just really high on shrooms. I just want to see a lightsaber battle. And so they throw us out of this theater. So we go from this dark room peeking on shrooms to this bright, screaming, sunny day. And it hits me like a shit of bricks. And I'm like, oh my God. And I freak out. So I see the first bus. I didn't even look what the bus is. I bolt and hop on this bus. And I just sit down. And I'm like, I can't do it. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Escape.
Yeah. One of my buddies like hopped on the bus with me. He like saw me moving, big A. So he gets on the bus. And so we get over the bridge, and I'm like, I can't handle this bus anymore. So I get off the bus and I power walk for like a solid 8 kilometers to my buddy's house on the other side of the city. And I just fucking beelined it faster as all living hell. By the time I got there, I had calmed down and everything was okay. But that was not a fun trip. I will be honest with you. That one sucked. And I didn't even get to see the lightsaber battle, man.
I graduated college in late 87. And when we would do shrooms, we would find shrooms, okay? Finding them was one thing. Doing them was another. I remember it was the cleanest buzz I'd ever had.
Yeah.
But see, I went to college in Kentucky, and if we were lucky, you wait till it rained. You look at the weather forecast in the spring or the summer. You wait till it rained, and you ran out in the field and you started lifting up cow turds.
Yeah,
wet fucking cow turds, man, and they pop up, and people are like, "What in the hell are you doing in my cow field?" Sorry, man. I need to get my fucking medicine, dude.
I need that fungi, man.
But the government got involved and put something in the feed, and we didn't see mushrooms for a long, long time.
Yeah.
When I came to Dallas in the late '80s, everybody was doing MDMA, and everybody smoked. I mean, which was no big deal, but everybody was doing MDMA until they, I think in 1990, they made it illegal. And that was fun. I mean,
That's
MDMA
funny.
was great.
See, like to me, like I would have been 2 years old at that time, right? So I'm thinking about 1990, and like the fact that before then MDMA or Molly isn't illegal, I'm like, whoa, that's such a foreign concept because
No,
it's been
bro,
illegal my whole life, right? Like
it was made in England by Hoax Roussel for a long time, and you could get the packs. You could go to Houston and get it. You could bump them out of the packs, and they have brown specks in them. Nobody understood what the brown specks were. Well, I knew what the fuck a brown specks were.
That reminds me, actually, there was in the city of Vancouver when I was a kid in high school, there was a drug that everybody got really into, dextromethorphan. We call it robo-copping in my age bracket. Originally, you know, you'd have to chug cough syrup to get high on the shit, right? Not advisable at home, everybody. But there was this tiny Chinese natural medicine store where they sold dextromethorphan pills. So it was like a crystallized powdered form of dextromethorphan in its pure form. So that kind of became all the rage. I did it once or twice. The shit was bloody weird, to be honest. I remember sitting there and like you do DXM and then you listen to music and you understand why it's called robocopping. Like the whole world just changes around you. But then my buddy's little brother, who was like 12 or 13 at the time, fucking dumb prick, Landon, God rest you, he's passed away. He died of a drug overdose / suicide. But this kid one night decided it was a good idea to take 10 of them. Wow. You take 2 or 3 of these pills and you're right done. And this kid, so anyway, his father was a blowhard asshole, idiot, business guy, tycoon type. You know the type, I'm sure. Greasy, fat, and obnoxious and a narcissist. So he goes on this war in the city of Vancouver against this little Chinese fucking natural medicine store. And he creates such a stink that eventually the city was like, yeah, no, you can't be selling pure dextromethorphan to kids anymore.
See, we figured out a lot of that stuff as kids too. I mean, in the 70s, nobody understood in the 70s. We would do all kinds of weird shit that now is completely forbidden.
Oh yeah.
I mean, completely forbidden. We would huff gas just to catch a buzz.
Yeah.
You can get a gallon of gas and no. Nowadays, kids deserve safe access to their medication. I mean, if they're going to do it, then you know they're going to do it.
Yeah. And that's a real thing, right? Like, you know, educate your kids, talk to your kids about these things. These aren't things to be scared about. It was like, actually, funnily enough, I was at the bar just last night, actually, when I got off work. I was sitting there having a couple of beers and this big commercial came on and it was sort of an awareness video for like parents about like, how do you talk to your kids about drugs? Like, you know, because it is beneficial to, you know, the second that you demonize something to a young person, we can all relate. We were all young once. Except maybe Einstein. I think you were just born an adult, weren't you, buddy? I'm just teasing Einstein. But, you know, when you demonize something to a kid or a young person, it kind of makes us want to do it more. It's like, don't do that, Josh. Okay, I'll go do that, Mom.
Man, the first time I got high was in 1977.
All right. Tell us the story of getting high. In
1977, my uncle had Acapulco Gold.
Oh, classic. I have it in my genetic stories.
No seeds, no stems. And he says, you want to get high? I'm like, fuck yeah. They rolled a joint. We were listening to Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic. And I remember smoking like 2 or 3 hits of that. And God, I felt so good. So to this day, 2023, I grow Acapulco Gold, specifically sativa.
Hell yeah.
Because I love that shit, man. It gives me a pump.
Oh yeah, no, I feel you, man. Actually, speaking of sativa and the concept of sativa, this is a fun thing we could bring up. Gazzers, are you still there? Sorry, I haven't said hi yet. Gazzers is one of my fellow cohorts. He's a grower breeder over in the world of New Zealand. Man's been breeding and growing different types of cannabis basically most of his adult life. Very knowledgeable guy. So he was sharing with me the other day this new kind of conceptual idea in terms of the spatial realities. That was a good one, wasn't it? In terms of cannabis. So sativa is no more. according to the powers that be. And we're talking like guys like Shanti Bubba, all these breeder guys, the scientists that are really actually working on this. We just recently lost basically the godfather of pot who discovered THC and all the other wonderful.
Rest in peace, Dr. Meckelum.
And so I guess now we don't call it sativa. I guess what it is now considered, and I haven't really read much on this. So again, I'm just repeating what Gazzers has talked to me in our video chats, but it's thin-leafed indica now. So it's kind of more of, we're creating a singular, dual, maybe tri-category, singular species. And then obviously there's ruderalis, which is its own weird little species from Russia and Asia and all of that. That is where we get autoflower genetics from, right? But it's an interesting concept, though, I guess. I don't really know if I see the point. I mean, maybe I need to read up more into the why of their reasoning. And then if it's scientifically justified to me, then yeah, okay, cool, I can change.
I'm sorry. That's weird that you said that about the different, like you said, the Asian and Argentina's got some really weird weed too. It doesn't even look like weed. It doesn't look like weed, man.
Well, Central America, Argentina, there's different regions where there's weird kind of things happen. So ruderalis is what used to, at least, I guess, if we're going by the newer kind of conceptual ideas of spatial realities of cannabis, is a short, squat plant in its natural state, 1 to 1.5 feet tall, doesn't require a change in photo period to flower. And it typically was just kind of one giant growing bud. And that's where they got the autoflowering genetic from, which is what has led to sort of modern day autoflowering genetics. Shout out to Death Trap Genetics. They'll be releasing on our store very soon.
Don't those ruderalis leaves look different though, Josh?
They do have a bit of a different structure to them. I mean, you got to remember now, though, too, that a lot of these autoflowering strains are so intermixed with other types of cannabis now. And that was the point, right? So the first ones that kind of came out that I'm aware of, I mean, I guess, Neville and Shanti Bubba were all kind of screwing around in the day a little bit with these. So it's not like the Joint Doctor was necessarily the first one to play with these genetics, but the Joint Doctor, arguably, in my opinion, was the first one to make like an actually marketed, advertised autoflowering cannabis that would then therefore come to the market. So there was the Lowrider #1, didn't really produce a lot of weed, didn't get very big, wasn't even that good. But it was just, it worked. It was an actual autoflowering genetic. Then there was Lowrider #2, and then so on and so forth. And he continued the work, which is where like a lot of the actual autoflowering based genetics now owe their lineage to. But then we started, crossing them with other things and basically trying to just isolate that singular genetic trait of the autoflowering nature, while then trying to make it, high producing, heavy hitting, and all that kind of stuff, right? So
let me ask you a question. Do you prefer the autoflower or the regs?
Regs. So I'm not a huge auto guy.
Me neither.
Autoflowers have come a long way. They've come a long way in recent years. So I'll definitely say that. But at the end of the day, they're never going to be as strong as their photo period parents.
That's what I was going to say. In Argentina, they don't have weed. All right, this is something I grew in Oklahoma. All right, and it's a reg. It's very hard. It's very.
What's the nose on it like? Yeah, describe it to us.
It's a lemony, almost like an orange. All right, the weed in Argentina, no. Actually, I had one of the mushroom mycology ladies. She also grows cannabis, and she asked me. She says, "How do you get your buds so hard and stiff, Hammer?" I said, "Well."
How hard did you have to resist making a dirty joke? Let's be honest.
Exactly. I mean, thank God I speak fluent Spanish, but
yeah, right.
What I understood what she meant, and I told her I get it. I've been coming down here since 2018, and your weed sucks.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, what do we do?" I said, "You need better genetics."
Yeah.
And when I have a really good friend that lives in Rosario, which is the town the size of Houston, and it's 3.5 hours northwest of Buenos Aires, right on the Uruguay border. He grows excellent weed, but because he just got back from Spannabis, he goes to Mexico, he goes to Colombia, he gets genetics. He gets Canadian genetics, all right? He gets Uruguayan genetics, Chile, anywhere. And like you said, that's perfect. You put those genetics together and you get better quality cannabis.
Well, totally, right? And that's how where modern day cannabis kind of came from. I mean, arguably, Neville himself was the man who probably almost a majority of modern strains have a touch of his work somewhere in there. Like he brought all of these things, and Shanti Bubba too, right? He's still around. Neville's passed away, but I mean, like these were the OG guys that were doing sort of these initial crossings and playing with stuff. And I mean, so that's kind of what I'm doing with some of our genetics and the things we're playing with right now. Is I've got a lot of older things that I've collected. I've got a lot of things from different parts of the world.
Me too.
And I'm like, yeah. Well, hey, maybe we should trade sometime. We'll talk about that. You know what I'm saying? I got a big old catalog of things I'd like to trade, but and playing around with stuff. So, like for example, the Galactic Citrus Shiva, as I call it, which is going to be the next strain. It's just an initial F1 creation that we're going to be running on the channel. Is one of the sort of the new initial crosses that we've been working on. It is a blending of an Orange Hindu Kush, I believe. So it was stabilized or grown exclusively by sort of an old hippie grower in New Zealand for about 25 years. He acquired the genetic over in Israel and brought it with him over to New Zealand. He grew it all outdoors exclusively. I'm probably arguably one of the sort of the first people of this genetic line to play with it indoors the way I have. So I've taken that, but I've crossed it with a new genetic. Many of the people watching probably already know this cross. I've talked about it a lot because I'm excited about it. But it was Alien Rift from Vader at Ocean Grown Genetics. So the Vader is the Alien Rift by Vader at Ocean Grown. It's very uniform structurally. Almost every plant is kind of the same. They make very dense, very crystally, well-formed buds. It's an easy trim. Like there's not too much to clean off of it when it's done. Where some strains are just a pain in the ass to trim. What I was trying to do though is it was so finicky, right? Like temperature changes. So like we had the temperature drop off like -21, -22 one night, right? And so at lights off, it was getting really cold in my room. The Orange Hindu Kush, the Gazer's Madness, that was one of Gazer's strains I was growing. And I was growing something else too. The K-Town Kush by Cheese. And they didn't really react negatively to the drop-off. Like, they weren't necessarily overly happy, but they were fine. But I walked in and these plants had taken their fan leaves and wrapped themselves around themselves to where it was the shape of a beer can, a large beer can. And I'd never seen a plant do that.
Trying to stay warm, right?
Yeah. And it was creating a kind of a little thing in its interior core of trying to kind of hold warmth in there. And I'm sitting here watching this plant do that. I'm like, damn, you a finicky bitch. But man, you intelligent though. Look at you smart little plant. But I didn't like how finicky that plant was. Like, I mean, it was like you fired it on it wrong and got upset. So that's where my thought was. It's like, I love all these other traits. So let's try mixing it with something that's a little old school. Like for example, that Orange Hindu Kush that we grew didn't have as crazy density as some of the newer genetics would, but it was tricky though, and it had a beautiful nose to it. It was crystally, and it smelled like oranges. It was crazy.
How tall does it get indoors? You'll see where I'm going with this.
Those Orange Hindu Kushes indoors, even in small pots. I think I only had them in 2-gallon pots, maybe. And they were still like they were on top of a table. The ceilings were about 6'2" in there, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". But so they were on top of a table. But like I had them, they were 3 or 4 foot tall, and then I bent them down and around because I had to. So they got really big in a small pot. So outdoors, especially with more available room, I could see these things getting giant, to be honest.
Well, here's what I wanted to share with you. What I did is I took your Canadian genetics. I took some Alaskan Quantum Kush.
Yeah.
And I put them in the Texas sun in early April. And I had to tie them down. I mean, one was 12.5 foot. The other one was 14 foot. But they went crazy. And I'm talking sativa, skinny leaves, okay?
Yeah.
And I didn't harvest them. They grew from April to late November.
Wow.
And I got
that's a long fucking run.
But dude, they loved the Texas sun. That Alaskan, those Alaskans, they would get 4 feet, 5 feet, and start flowering. Not here in the Texas sun, and that's what I wanted to share with everybody. In the Texas sun, they went crazy. I got bamboo. I had everything, tied down. And so we moved everything to Oklahoma, and we started growing Quantum Kush. It was amazing. But after the third batch, they all started herming on me.
Mm. Oh, and Gazers wanted to clarify he didn't get the orange Hindu Kush in Israel. I'm remembering the story wrong. His buddy got it in India, so that's where it would have come from anyway. But originally, so that genetic that went into that one came out of India originally.
Working in the airline industry, I've been blessed to be able to travel.
Yeah,
in the world, and I've done interviews with the German High Times. I've done Grow magazine. I've done Argentina television, books, magazines, Kentucky, Amsterdam. Where else? That's what I want to do. I want to start exploring the cannabis world everywhere else, because now I'm a grandfather. Okay. Yeah. I'm a grandfather. I have grandkids that they know this is my medicine. And I'm breaking stigmas. I got people reaching out to me going, hey, I had cancer. And this is the guy I used to work with. He said, I had cancer and they removed my colon. I'm like, wow, you okay? He goes, man, I'm cancer free. He said, but I started microdosing. And I just want to let you know, it has completely changed my life. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I had a guy reach out to me from Atlanta. He was working for CNN. You're familiar with CNN, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was working for CNN his whole life. He did a microdose for the first time. The next day, he quit and started his own microdosing company and psilocybin company in Georgia. Oh. Just gave up his career, said, fuck it, I'm done.
Now, is Georgia a legal state now?
No, as a matter of fact, Georgia's one of the worst. Georgia won't even allow.
Why the hell did you go to damn Georgia to do it?
No, he was already there.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn, son.
but I mean, the guy's got cojones. I mean, and I'm glad, because now here in the States, Johns Hopkins, which is one of the premier universities and hospitals, they only use psilocybin for depression now. They will not use Prozac. They will not use Zoloft, Paxil, only psilocybin. So that's awesome. That's groundbreaking.
Oh, totally. Well, the way I look at it too, right? Like in terms of mental health utilizations, like there are some people, and Lil Stewie actually earlier was talking about other health disorders, like epilepsy, for example. Big Pharma does create things that certain people do need these medications, and it's the only option.
Well, if you have a surgery, you're going to need some hardcore OxyContin for maybe 2-3 days.
Oh yeah. So like there are uses for Big Pharma here. Like we're not negating that, but so. I do love, though, how the part of the human body we arguably know the least about, which is the human brain, neurochemistry, the basic inner workings of the human brain, simply put. I'm not a neurologist, nor do I claim to be, but let's be fair, most neurologists still don't have much of a clue of how it actually works either. They're working on that one. And I love how, though, we, this infantile ape-like species, go, well, what if we put this chemical with this chemical and it actually interacts with this sort of observed neurotransmitter or this hormone or this, that, blah, 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 blah. And then we'll play with the actual brain chemistry of these people and to help them, right? And so, I was misdiagnosed as bipolar when I was a young person. I went and
I can see that.
Oh, thanks. Love you too, Russell.
No, we're just alike, man. I'm an older version of you. Our brain goes 100 miles an hour, and anybody who follows your show, because that's how I met you. I followed your show. I was like, this guy goes 100 miles an hour. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, no, totally. I've learned to kind of come to terms with it. And that's why I think I drink the way I do, too. Slows it down a little bit. That with a little bit of weed, I'm a happy boy. But so they put me on, and now, so the medication they put me on, it has two uses, okay? One, bipolar disorder.
What was it?
Olanzapine.
Lexapro?
No, olanzapine is its technical name. It's an antipsychotic. So, but here's a fun fact, Russell, okay? You'll laugh at this or be horrified, or both. They also use it for criminal schizophrenics, like extreme schizophrenia. It's also used for that. So you want to know what they give an extreme schizophrenic this shit? It's an antipsychotic with a mood stabilizing secondary effect. So they give them typically 5, maybe 10 milligrams, okay? I was on 45 fucking milligrams every fucking day.
That doctor should be slapped, man. The doctor who prescribed that to you should be fucking slapped. I'm sorry.
No, it's true though. It's true. I went from a fighting weight of 185 at the time, and then I was getting out of fighting, and I wasn't really working out, and it totally screwed up with the way my body processed sugar too. So I went up to about 340 pounds. And here's the interesting thing. So fast forward a number of years later, and I finally had a doctor, psychologist came along, and he goes, I actually don't think you have bipolar disorder. I don't think you actually have a formal anxiety disorder. I think you experience anxiety and depression from due to the fact that you are 99th percentile. You have an IQ of 176, and you're just a high functioning, non-neurotypical man. Like this is what you are. And you have high emotional intelligence, which oddly doesn't actually help anything. It actually almost makes it worse. And because you're analyzing everything and overthinking everything, he's like, I don't think you need to be on meds. Now, everyone at home, when you're misdiagnosed and you're on these types of meds, you should phase them out. That's the medical thing. I'll agree with it. Like, don't just go cold turkey. Well, Uncle Potsquatch is a special kind of stupid. So I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't need him. Sweet. So I walked out the doctor's office, never went back, threw him in the garbage, and just went cold turkey.
You can't do that nowadays. I mean, I lost a brother to that. Okay.
Oh, I feel you.
And not only that, I lost a brother to fentanyl last year. Because
I just lost a friend to fentanyl recently.
And this is what happened. Okay, he got out of the military, the Coast Guard, and had the Veterans Administration. He was working at an Airbnb for this guy, and somebody hit him over the head, cracked his skull wide open. So he went to the hospital, and they gave him 20 Percocets. Okay, Percocets, and he ran out. And I remember talking to him. He goes, man, I'm still in pain and they won't give me nothing else. And I'm like, you don't want to take nothing else. He says, man, I'm fucking in pain. I said, you're in a legal state. Go get some weed. Yeah. So he did. And his girlfriend bought 2 Percocets. Supposedly, this is what happened. His girlfriend went down and bought 2 Percocets from some guy, and my brother died.
Fuck, man. One, I'm really sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I know. But here's the deal. Fentanyl is coming across our border here in the United States like it's fucking candy.
So here's a couple interesting things that I'm just reading the chat as we're talking. Okay, so one, Gazzers, I'm going to read yours in a second. Yes, Tony Clifton, I went up to 340 pounds. I didn't look 340, but I weighed it.
Gabapentin will make you fat as fuck, man. I know all my friends who take gabapentin are fat, and they don't want to leave the house.
Yeah, no, that shit made me gain a lot of weight. So Hooli here shares, being in chronic pain sucks. I can relate to you. I'm a neuropathic chronic pain patient myself. That's why I have all my medical cards, other than being a cancer survivor too. But it doesn't help. Weed doesn't help him with his pain at all for his nerve pain symptomologies that he's experiencing. What it does, though, is it helps him relax and forget about it. And if that's all I get, I will learn to live through it. I mean, Hooli, I will say that there's going to be certain strains and certain ways of ingestion, different types of products that may work better for you in terms of addressing your pain. Everyone's biochemistry and body's a little different. Mine's different. Yours is different. Russell's is different. For me, I always described cannabis and how it treated my pain as it doesn't necessarily fix the pain. It doesn't take it away. But if you imagine pain like a loud speaker playing a shitload of loud music, you know how that is. We all do. Then you go stick your head in a dunk it into a big thing of water. You can still hear the music, but it's now being guarded. It's not hitting the eardrums quite as hard. So that's how my experience with pain treatment with cannabis often is how I would put an analogy, I guess, to it. And also Gazzers shared, this is interesting. Excuse me. Did you know that the gassy style terps work like opioids? So I guess, yeah. So there's some pain treatment in certain terpenes in certain cannabis strains. I'm assuming he means kind of sort of the more gassy ones, things that we would find in something like a New York City diesel or something like that. That gas, that kind of gas smell. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, there's one here called Chem Dog.
Yeah, I know it well. I actually have a couple of Chem Dog crosses, I think, in my collection here. So. But yeah, so simply put, like, that's interesting. And that's the thing, right? Actually, there's a guy. I met another guy at the bar yesterday. Really nice guy. We got to chatting about my channel. I was telling him about doing the show with you today. And he goes, oh, like, yo, man, like my buddy's a weed doctor. Like, actually, though, like, and he runs a little channel. It's not that big. I think I'm his 778th subscriber. He's been around for years though. And he's kind of this next generation of like the great doctor we just lost, studying cannabinoids and their effects and the different utilizations of cannabinoids as well as terpenes and stuff in terms of medical applications, right? So he actually not next week's show. Next week we're having shout out to White Rabbit Glass. They're coming on to the show next week. But the show after that, I'm hoping we might be able to get this weed doctor in and he can kind of talk in greater depth about some of these studies and things that he's done. But it's pretty cool though, right? Like, and I just randomly, again, see, I meet all my people in bars almost entirely. It's like, where does Uncle Potsquatch get connections? He's out at a bar sometime and he meets somebody.
But when you talk about cannabis, Josh, I'll give you an example. I was in Buenos Aires. 2 months ago, and me and my wife finishing our day. It was late at night. You couldn't smoke in the room, right? They were on to me. So I'm standing out front of right there in this huge fucking street, smoking a joint, and this old guy comes up. Are you smoking pot? And I went, he was American, obviously. He had his American jersey on during the World Cup. And I said, yeah, you want some? And he's like, yeah, I do. And so we sat there and he's like, where'd you find this? And I go, you can find it at any underground florist. Go to any place that sells flowers on the street. They've got weed. And he's like, I'm from Alaska, man. And then we started talking. He goes, you speak Spanish? I'm like, yeah. We sat there. He got a beer. We sat there on the sidewalk at a little cafe in front of my hotel and talked for hours.
Oh yeah.
We never would have talked if we would have been on an airplane sitting next to each other. This guy didn't look like the person that would talk to me, nor me talk to him. And then come to find out, we had a ton of shit in common.
Oh, totally. Right. I mean, and marijuana has always
all because of the plant.
Yeah, has always been a great unifier, right? I mean, it's I liken it to, like, you remember back in the day, the concept when everybody smoked, the smoke pit, right? And it's like, so you got all these people, like, let's say they all work at a company, right? Different departments. You got the sales people, you got the administrative people, you've got the cleaning department, they've got the workers in the line. Normally they won't interact, they won't do, but then all these different groups of people, though, when they go to the smoke pit, though, they're equals. We're all having a dirty party. We're all having this conversation. But cannabis often, in my mind, it typically is that great thing, though, too. It can be a sort of at least an initial common value, an initial common similarity that then leads us to having these conversations with people and sort of chatting, right? And like, plus, I mean, at the end of the day, the more and more I start to realize that pretty much almost everybody seems to really actually love weed titties. I mean, everybody's into marijuana. Not even people who are into it don't necessarily even do it themselves, but they still find it interesting and blah, 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 right? Like,
I got a lot of friends that tell me, hey, man, I never knew you smoked. Or when you work for the airlines, okay, you don't talk about smoking weed. You don't talk about any drugs because, it's the Department of Transportation. They will drug test you. So here was the deal. They'd go, hey, man, do you smoke? And everybody look at each other and go, smoke what? That's when you know you're a pot smoker.
Yeah.
Because I did the hiring. I did the hiring out there, and I used to hire these people. And this is before Facebook and Instagram. So you don't know how to. You can't look at somebody's profile and go, okay, he's a weed head, or no. I would say, you smoke. Smoke what? I knew right off the bat. That's my buddy right there.
No, right? No, exactly. Well, that's when it's like an international thing of like, this person smoke weed. Smoke what? I mean, if they say it like this, smoke what? Then you're like, oh, Cracker Jack, run. But it's like if it's funky when they say it, like, smoke what? Like, oh, hey man, you want to smoke a blunt, man? Like,
but you know what the great part is? This producer that I'm working with, his name is Jeff Eichen. He works with Tommy Chong a lot. Him and Tommy are very close. And when you meet these people, it's like meeting Santa Claus. I was a kid in 1978. I went to the movie to see Up in Smoke.
Fuck yeah. I didn't. I saw it much later, but I loved it too as a kid, though.
Bro, to this day, when my wife is Hispanic, everybody. And when I showed her that movie for the first time years ago, she laughed her ass off. She'd never seen it before.
Yeah. What was her reaction to the Cheech Marin character?
Oh, she loved it. I mean, she's from Mexico, and she's like, cannabis, we just don't talk about it. It's always been part of the culture in Mexico.
Yeah.
The old ladies, they would take it and soak it in alcohol and rub the alcohol on their skin for muscle pain.
Yeah, no, right. Well, it was very common too, like all throughout like Africa, for example. One of my buddies from Ethiopia, right? He's one of the lawyers I know. He's represented me, actually, funnily enough, represented me in briefly as part of a legal thing in regards to medical cannabis, actually, and an employer, actually. But so he grew up in Ethiopia, moved to Canada when he was a young man, became a lawyer. But he was talking about how his grandmother grew weed openly where he lived. And it was her thing. She'd smoke her pipe and make tea out of it. And it was part of her nightly ritual. So there's so many cultures around the world that even though it's still technically illegal because it's what North America said and did. Like, let's be honest. Once the war on drugs happened, thanks, Nixon, you dipshit.
Drugs happened.
Yeah. Well, of course. But I mean, like, the stigma around the world led to all these countries being illegal. But it's never really got into the culture in most places, especially like in these places where it was such an inherent part to it. The thing I find funny about America is it used to be a huge staple of the American economy. I mean,
it made our country. Hemp is what made our country. George Washington and all hemp those guys that had the plantations was hemp, baby.
Yeah. Hemp farmers. The fucking Constitution's written on hemp paper, for fuck's sakes.
But you know what happened? Big Pharma got control, and they're like, hey, we're going to make laws where it's going to be racist and it's going to be where nobody can do it. And here in Texas specifically, the Hispanics would come across the border, no problem. This used to be Mexico.
Yeah.
Texas can grow some of the best cannabis in the world. Oklahoma's proven it. But the powers that be here in Texas only allow us to have 1% cannabis, and it has to be edibles in order to be part of our medical cannabis. And I'm sorry, but I require something much more stronger than that.
I think I could have eaten that as a 6-year-old and not gotten high. Like, let's be honest. It's not real. It's not real medicine, right? Like, I mean, what the fuck's that going to do? It's kind of like, if you have one sip of alcohol, you're going to be drunk. It's like, no, it's like, it's a slap in the face. Or it's like if you take, 1 ounce of vodka, let's say, and you throw it into a giant punch bowl, right? 150 servings of punch in this thing. And this is now an alcoholic beverage. I'm like, no, that's got less alcohol in it than a de-alkalized fucking beer does in North America. I mean, but but I mean, the one thing I will say is at least it's showing that maybe things are starting to shift and starting to open up. I mean, a lot of America is like, there's a lot of states that have now opened up and are beginning to try to kind of empower themselves and the medical community, right? Like, because you've got Oklahoma on the border of Texas and they're legal.
Dude, obviously. Oklahoma is less than an hour north of me right here. But luckily I have some land there.
Road trip.
It's $250 for your license, man. Come on. In Texas, it's $500,000 for a license for 2 years.
Yeah, and that's how it is here too. Like
that's the truth, guys.
Yeah, and why I don't have a license here in Canada, right? Like the way they've set it up, it's a game only the rich can play. So it's like my kind, normal, hardworking farmers, business people in Canada, the people who are responsible for the industry existing here, voted this in because we were like, finally we can come out, because it was presented to us as we can come out of the shadows, we can become legitimate, we can be part of this, we can be valued members of society. And then it turns out, like, to start a small farm, like I got a buddy who's starting a small one over on the island there. And between the fact that you got to own, well, you don't have to own the land, but you have to basically now, because people fuck you out of it, right? Like that's what happened early on in legalization. So own the land, you've got to, build an infrastructure, bring it to code in 1,001 ways from Sunday. There's so much red tape. And then you have to have all of this done before you could even begin the process of applying for a license. And the license isn't just a direct, you apply, you get it, you do this, that, like for example, a firearms license. That's pretty simple. You go take your course, you pass, they do your background check, boom, you can buy guns now. But here it costs I think my buddy's up at 3.5 million Canadian right now is what it's cost him. And he's going to be entitled to a total flower and canopy space of 2,300 square feet, which is basically no more than a house. So it's like, that's not a lot of weed. Like, I mean, and also you have to wait for this license. So sometimes people are sitting there for 6 to 12 months after expending all this capital to buy the land, build the building, do the application, do this, and then you got to pay your bills while you're waiting for this before you're even allowed to fucking, get started and do anything. It gets a crock.
I was explaining that to Salma, my niece, the one we brought here from Mexico.
Yeah.
We're a slave to the system. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then I told her, it's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And I want to say something right now.
Go for it, man.
I'm not into politics. All right. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a grandfather who uses whole plant medicine. And our government has promised us, it doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal, they've promised us to legalize and change. It's a Schedule 1 in the United States. To this day, it's still federally illegal to use cannabis.
See, but that's just so fucked to me, though. Like, it's a fucking plant, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
And you know why? Because Big Pharma has such a control. Our politicians, all right, get paid $170,000 a year, and they spend $12 million every time it's time for them to get that job, to run for election. That shows you that the system's broken, brother. My opa used to tell me, a basketball player in the United States makes more in one game than the president does all year long. Your system is going to fail.
Oh, 100%. Like, for example, right? Like my uncle Brad, he played in the NHL. And then I've got an interesting comment from Gazzers we're going to go to because you're going to find it interesting. He's always filled with interesting concepts on cannabis.
Well, come on, man. The fucking politics I'm done with politics. It's called cannabis, and it's been around since the beginning of time. Yeah. In the cannabinoid system, hey, what more do you need? It kills cancer.
Yeah. And here's another thing, though. So this is Gazzer's point here, and what we're going to talk about, this is a real thing. So part of the problem, in a weird sense, this is how I'm going to describe what he's saying, is that the popularity of cannabis, the popularity of certain things like High Times and other outlets, right? And as it is with everything, the popular thing wins. Everyone is now growing what's popular, what's hip, intermixing these. So we're actually losing all of the good original genetics that were the building blocks that were initially utilized to create what we've fallen in love with. But if we're not careful, we're going to lose all of it. I mean, I've been on a similar mission, especially with compounding feminization and everything on New Age genetics. It's known that most people know I rarely will grow anything that's a New Age genetic because I have no use for it. I go out of my way. I'll take an unknown random bag seed from 30 or 40 years ago over something trendy and hip that's going to cost me $500 for a 20 pack any goddamn day of the week. I'm a fucking grower and a breeder, baby. I can make myself. It's like, do I need to buy a fucking sports car? No, I'll just fucking build one. But, and I'll actually read exactly because it was quite eloquent what he typed, actually. So here's Gaz. Most of the world are losing their native genetics and now growing what is hot and High Times and losing their strains that work there. And we're losing what went into everything that we have today. And it is true, though, right? Like it is. And that's where awareness, right? So everybody watching at home, there's nothing wrong with getting excited about the trendy thing. When we launch our genetics, I hope you get excited about those and buy a shitload.
Well, he's right, though. I mean, I'll give you an example. Ray Anthony Kogo. He was in High Times. He was in High Times and all that. And he's a good friend of mine. And he tells me, dude, the CIA was involved in everything we did. Yep. They watched everything we did, our genetics, blah, blah, blah. It's all going to shit. And I'm like, wow.
Well, High Times was originally set up as a sting operation to High Times, and the High Times Cannabis Cup basically is what I'm referencing. And this is something I actually learned from Gazzers. Shout out to Gazzers again. But it was set up as a sting to capture Neville and bust Neville. That was what it was done. So there's this Australian, out there growing all this marijuana, doing this, doing that, doing this, and he's basically inventing modern pot inadvertently. I don't know if Neville realized at the time what influence he was actually going to have in terms of what was to come. I mean, but. So, they set it all up just to catch this fucking guy. and then put him in fucking jail. And it's like, again, though, like the guy grew weed. Ladies and gentlemen, are you intimidated by a man or woman on the street, on their front lawn, growing a plant? Are you going to be intimidated if you see someone with red eyes, a big smile on their face, sitting on their front porch with a big slice of chocolate cake going, hey, yeah, that's dangerous to me too.
I'm getting ready to eat dinner, man.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, come on now, ladies and gentlemen. It's a goddamn plant. It is no different. Yes, it has psychoactive effects. I will acknowledge that. Yes, can we make it into dabs and things that are much stronger? Yes, we can.
Well, you know, good example. Good example. Here in Texas, it used to be a felony to have dabs. If you got caught with dabs, you're fucked.
Shit.
And that's why I would always say, doing dabs in Dallas, y'all. And now,
you cheeky fucking monkey. Look at you.
Listen to this. Now,
man.
if you get caught with this, nothing. If you get caught in Texas, if you get caught with 4 ounces of weed in the city of Dallas, they can write you a ticket and let you go. If you got more, they can take you because they think that you're distributing it. But I remember when people would go to jail for 1 gram of fucking weed, they would go to jail. Yeah. One of my buddies who runs Texas Cannabis Collective, shout out to Austin Zamhariri, he got arrested, and when he did, he got arrested for 1 fucking gram at college. Yeah. And he became an activist, and that's what we need to do. We need to start saying, no, we're going to fight it. We're going to fight it.
I got a close friend of mine, actually. He's Canadian here. So back in the day, right, Canada hasn't always been this sort of, libertarian, positive world of cannabis isn't that bad. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of parts of Canada where it's still quite shunned upon, right? Like pretty much everywhere other than BC or the big cities, you're kind of fucked. People still look at you a little weird sometimes. But I had a buddy, and he bought a joint off an undercover cop, a single joint, a 0.5 gram joint. Okay. That's all he wanted. He just wanted a little joint. He just wanted to have a toke. Didn't even smoke the damn thing. Okay. Gets arrested. And to this day, 35 years later, still has a criminal record that nothing, no matter what he can do for having 1 tiny joint. Okay. I'm sitting here with bags of this shit in my house, fucking growing it fucking everywhere. And it's like, whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm good. 1 joint, and this guy for decades can't go visit his family down in the States. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is just fucked.
It is. And I'm highly educated. I speak multiple languages, and I'm going to use what I've acquired in my sports career and in my past to start fighting for the cannabis and the psilocybin.
Yeah.
My wife told me the other day, you're more famous as a whole plant activist and a fungus activist than you were as a football player, bodybuilder, power lifter. People listen to you now. You actually help people.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing.
I never thought in a billion years I'd be doing this shit, Josh.
Hey, bro, but dude, we're doing important work, right? Because at the end of the day, if we don't tell the stories, if we don't have the conversations, and this doesn't just apply to cannabis, it applies to all topics in general. Nothing happens. Change doesn't happen, right? Gazers shares here that 1 ounce in New Zealand. Okay, you can get supply charges, supply for intent of distribution charges. Gazers is in the middle of him and his wife are fighting a huge legal battle right now.
Didn't they just get rid of their prime minister in New Zealand?
She stepped down.
I wonder why.
Oh, I think eventually we'll have some stories coming out there that'll be interesting. I'm very curious to hear, to be honest.
Me too.
I've heard rumors about her boyfriend being actually involved in the heavy drug trade. So, or husband, I don't know if they're married. Who fucking knows? But so anyway, and also I'm going to take a second. So everyone here is talking a lot, and everyone, I know I'm not reading a lot of people's messages, and I apologize for that. It is nothing personal at all. We're just sort of chatting here. And the only reason why I keep bringing up Gazers is because Gazers is making very valid points that'll help our conversation along.
I'm glad I started my own YouTube channel because I've got people all over the world now saying, "Hey, I saw your channel. Can you help me? I got a pacemaker," and I'm like, "Sure, no problem." I meet these people when I travel to their country too.
Mm-hmm.
I know my Argentinian cannabis family. They're all planning a trip up here now to the States.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize that our money goes so far in South America.
Oh, I know.
Canadian money's the same.
I was gonna say even our money does. Like,
because you guys are like us. I mean, you're right up there with us. And we're with the euro. Because I can remember in Germany, as a kid, having fucking $20. That was 60 marks, man. You could do a lot with 60 marks. Nowadays, with the euro, it's outrageous.
Well, I know. Well, and the whole European economy right now is doing its best. I mean, Germany is one of the proponents that's actually holding the euro up right now. And they always have been economically, right? But I mean, it's I don't know. Part of me almost like, this is going totally off on a tangent, but it's like, everyone's like scared, like, oh, a unified global economy would be so bad. It's not communist. It's not socialist. Imagine what it is. It's basically like, imagine if the world could get along. Imagine if all the different things that we had around the world, and like every country has different things. What if we just decided to work together and not fuck each other and fuck each other over? What if we all just decided to smoke a fat joint and share what we got and then build a better world? Because it's not the world's not overpopulated. We just don't distribute anything properly. Well, and everyone, I mean,
if people took psilocybin mushrooms with microdoses every day, they probably would get along.
Well, that's the thing. I've often made the joke. I was like, yo, man, send me to the UN, bring all the warring nations in, okay? I'm going to need a weekend. I'm going to need some cases of beer, 10 pounds of weed, a bunch of pizzas, and some magic mushrooms. And we're going to, and I need a kitchen so I can bake some space cake, okay? And then some movies, okay? We're going to watch some movies. And then,
can you imagine? No, that would be fucking awesome.
World peace achieved in a weekend, everybody. And all it took was getting fucked up. I mean, it's like.
But you know as well as I know. I mean, you lived in Europe, and I'll give you an example. Airbus. Airbus makes a great airplane. I don't like them. I like Boeing. But Airbus is a joint consortium of German, British, Italian, French. They don't get along, people. Look at the fucking history. You got a German making this part of the airplane. You got a French person making this part of the airplane. An English person. Nobody gets along over there. I've been there. Trust me. I've been over there. I've been in the workforce, and that shit makes me nervous. That's why you see these politicians. It's like a pro wrestling match, Josh.
Totally. Yeah.
They hate each other in public, but in the background, they're best fucking friends.
All circle jerking it. Well, that's the thing, though, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, I mean, I've been painfully aware of this throughout my travels in the world. And like, when you sit down and actually talk to the people, right? And you sit there and you just chat with someone. We all have these different, we have different religions. We have different sort of social norms. We have different beliefs and concepts that are all really, at the end of the day, just superficial things.
Thank you.
They're all superficial things that we've developed over thousands of years of society. It's a reflection and a function of the human brain and our attempt to survive this unfair thing we called life. But foundationally, we're all the same, right? Like our emotional intelligence, our basic concepts are like, if you look at every world religion, if you go to the seminal basic foundation of it, it's saying basically the same shit. Doesn't matter who you talk to. Hell, even the Church of Satan, if you look at the Satanic Bible and read their fucking teachings, it's essentially the same as everything else foundationally. Like, it's like we all have this desire deep within us, right? To have these positive core values, to have these things. So I personally think, someone would say it's idealistic to think the world could get along. It's idealistic to think that world peace could ever happen. I think that's fucked up. I think that's brainwashed, and you've been programmed because they want to keep us fighting. They want to keep us fucking at each other's throats.
Thank you. The human being is the worst fucking animal on the planet. I said it.
Oh yeah,
we're human being, and that's why I think everybody needs to take a little bit of psilocybin every fucking day. I think, and you watch Joe Rogan?
Sometimes I find him a bit of a blowhard at times, but I watch parts of. I've seen some of his episodes that I did enjoy. But
he does talk about a lot of stuff that people want to hear about, and he's here in Texas now, so I watch Joe, and he was talking about Moses, and he was talking about religion and psilocybin or psychedelics, and he said that what he thinks, and it made sense to me. He said that the burning bush, where in the Bible, where Moses talks to the bush, that was DMT, because DMT grows in that area. Okay. It grows in the Southwest United States. It grows in Palestine and Israel. It grows in South America. Man, when he started talking about that, you wouldn't believe the discussion people started talking. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. They talk about Moses talked to God or the 10 Commandments, all that shit. Hey man, if that's what does it for you, that's fine. But
Yeah.
he explains it in whole plant medicine's always been there.
Oh yeah.
It's right in front of your eyes, people.
Just look at Chinese natural medicine, dude. Like one of my buddies at Chinese natural medicine doctor. Funnily enough, here's a fun fact. So as a Chinese medicine doctor, you know, you're certified to actually do that shit, but you're not a real doctor in Canada, right? But do you know that a Chinese natural medicine doctor in Canada goes to school for like 4 years more than an actual doctor does? It's harder to become a naturopath Chinese medicine doctor than it is to become a legitimate doctor in our current modern healthcare system. This isn't me ragging on doctors. I love modern medicine too. I love a lot of things that are going on. Fuck, if it weren't for modern medicine and certain types of things, you definitely would be dead. You wouldn't have that pacemaker that's been hardwired into your heart to help it regulate its function, right? I mean, so I'm not right on that, but it's like we've lost something. We've become detached from certain things that we knew for a very long time.
I agree.
My response, and like, you know, in my response to the Joe Rogan thing, I mean, it's not really at Joe Rogan. It's just about how, like, for example, like I grew up in the church. I'm the son of 2 priests. Both my mother and father are Anglican priests. If you're English or of the UK, you would call it the Church of England. In the States, you call it Episcopalian. It's all the same shit, just different hats. Okay. But at the end of the day, you know, I was raised knowing more theology than most theologians. I mean, I saw the inner workings of the church. And so for me, I became very skeptical of all of this because I'm a pragmatic, intelligent individual, and I'm looking at stuff. And so for me, like the Bible isn't a holy text. It is the holy text of Christian-based Greco-Christian religion. There's a lot of good stuff in there for sure. There's a lot of good stuff in it, but like things like the burning bush, for example, let's say that actually happened, or he thought it happened and he talked about it. It was written in the gospel because a story got passed on and it got written down. These are just what we, a weak infantile species, interpreted as acts of God or acts of this, right? And so it's a very valid point, though. There were readily available psychoactive, psychotropic drugs at the time. Could it have been this? Yes. Will we be able to definitively say yes or no either way? Fuck no, not until we build the time machine and then we actually go back. We find Moses on that day. We're like, yo, you tripping, bro? You know, we'll have to say it in Hebrew.
Come
right?
on, Moses, come clean, bitch.
You on that weed and some shrooms, or is it a cacti, man? Did you munch on that cactus a bit, bro? Like, but I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't. But see, here's the funny thing: whether it's God, whether it's drug-induced growth or evolution of self-thought or awareness, it's still progress. It's still thoughts. It's still forward movement, right? And so, like, and that's where like a lot of the sort of Central American and indigenous of North America beliefs of shamanism and different medicine man and using like ayahuasca and other types of things and different hallucinogenic substances to go on these spiritual journeys to find self, develop. You know, it's used for a lot of things, but I mean, that's where I find it very interesting. Like, I mean, I've never tried DMT. Part of me is curious, and part of me is like, I am far too high wired to maybe want to do it. I don't know.
I can't because of my pacemaker. It raises your heartbeat. Ayahuasca raises your heartbeat, and I don't want to get shocked by my pacemaker because when my heart rate,
I assume it hurts.
Well, it hurts like a son of a bitch. But like I said, the psilocybin's perfect for me. And that's the microdoses. Now, like I said, if I take a little too much, I'll feel it, and I'll just sit down and be like, okay, my heart rate will go up. I find if I get down on the floor and do some push-ups, maybe do a few sit-ups and do a little stretching, do a little flexing, get your mind right, it's gone in 5 minutes.
Oh, totally. Like, I mean, and so like for me, but here's the thing I've heard. Okay. So this is a common thing. You can Google it. It's all over the internet of people talking about their first time, and we're not talking macro doses or micro doses. We're talking about you're hitting some fucking DMT and you're going to a different place like that. We're talking about a real trip here.
Blast off.
Yeah, we're black. Yeah, exactly. Right. Did you know? And I'm trying to remember the actual percentage of people. I can't remember, but like, let's just say roughly 70 to 85% of people have some form of this. So when they blast off and they arrive to wherever it is that they're going, shall we say, there's a common message, and it says, "We are so glad you found this technology," or "We're so glad that you've discovered this knowledge." And so what a lot of the people who talk in the forums on this is sort of the idea behind it is that it's almost like this sort of universal hive mind, in a sense, that the actual cosmos is all connected and that there are tons of other races everywhere all over the universe, and that actually time and space is not really a thing. And in a sense of, we can literally go anywhere through what we're all hardwired with, through the way our brains and our connections through electromagnetism to the universe can go to these places. And that's what's happening with DMT. So there's like all these, I guess, for lack of a better word, aliens sitting there like, "Oh, hey man, welcome to the club. Are you guys a bit ready to stop, poking each other with sticks and nuclear bombs? Or like, do we have to wait another, 2,000 years for you to pull your head out of your ass?" Right? Like, it's interesting. So that's like, I'm curious, to be honest. Like, that's where I'd want to do a DMT hardcore trip, would be, I want to see if that actually happens.
You want to, how they talk about Antarctica being all in the middle of it, all occupied by old Nazis from.
Some of my favorite science fiction films. That is either that or Nazis on the Moon. That's a great film too.
New Schwabenland. Well, the first time I did that shit, that's what happened to me. I was talking to my relatives down in. I was in Buenos Aires and I was talking to my relatives in Antarctica, and they were like, "Are you going to come and visit us?" And I was like, "Man, this is weird shit.
What's going on, man? Danger, Will Robinson. Danger."
See, I speak Swabish. I mean, my mother's Swabish, so maybe that was it. But it's weird when you do the DMT and you come out of it afterwards, you're like, "What the fuck was?" Well, it all makes sense. It's like a puzzle. I can't explain it.
So the one thing I have tried that was like an extreme, like, I've hallucinated on other drugs, but that was more so because I did too many. But I tried salvia. I actually can't remember off the top of my head what the active ingredient in salvia is. But so I worked at a head shop at the time. It was actually, funnily enough, a bong shop from Texas that tried to open up a store here in Vancouver. It was called the Love Revolution is what they named it. But they had a chain of stores in Texas and they were opening up in Vancouver. It was open for about 8 months and then they went under and went back to Texas. But I worked there briefly and it was an interesting experience. But we were selling salvia, and salvia is still a legal hallucinogenic herb, to my knowledge, in Canada. You can buy it. And they said, you should probably try this stuff if you're going to be selling it so you can talk about what your experience was. So I didn't listen to any of the rules. I did 3 times too much. Didn't do it with someone, didn't do it in private, did it in public, did it by, like, I broke every rule, but I did it on purpose because, like, I wanted to see what the cloud of it was. So fucking sitting there with my, like, double chambered pipe, I just fucking rip it. And you're supposed to hold it in and count down from 60 is what I remember being taught. So I start counting down and boom, within 3 or 4 seconds, it hits. And I'm like, so basically all of a sudden I could see everything around me, but there was also a bowling alley superimposed at the same time. I was literally watching 2 physical things occupy the same space. And then I was standing in the alley in front of this fence with these boards, and all the boards grew eyes and they started vibrating. And then they started to sing, and they're shooting out of the fence at my face and then shooting up into the sky and weaving this technicolor tapestry. And I dropped my pipe because I was so overwhelmed. Like, instantly, it's just like, you're there now. And I was like, holy shit. And I collapsed to the ground and I lose my pipe. So I remember, my because, like, your hallucinating brain and your normal brain are both there when this is happening. And you're kind of like, where'd my pipe go? And then so the fence boards start singing about the pipe. They're like, don't worry, your pipe is fine. You'll find it's when it's done. Blah, 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 blah. It's like a Monty Python song or some shit. And they're like singing to me and they're shooting up into the sky. And it was an interesting experience, though. And so, like, that was the closest thing to a hardcore hallucination I've ever really experienced. And I was like, well, if that's what salvia does, maybe DMT does take you to meet the aliens, bro.
Well, my wife says I'm half alien because nobody could survive what I've survived. And then, you know, one thing me and you have in common, our intelligence is a little different. All right. We're a little weirder than other people, and people
We are certainly strange fellows.
and my wife was just like, you're just so different. I'm like, what do you mean I'm different? She says, you're half alien. You need to write a book.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'll tell you about this one shroom time. This was back in the day. I was dating a girl named, what was your name? Chelsea. It was Chelsea. I remember Chelsea now. It's all coming back to me now. So we were dating, and so she brought over a half-ounce magic mushrooms that she had picked up from a friend. So we ate this whole half ounce, and fuck all really happened. They weren't
7 grams a piece, huh?
Yeah, and not much happened, bro. They're pretty weak. So I was like, screw it. We'll go to my shroom guy. These things are dangerous. So we get in a cab. We go to my buddy's house. I pick up a half ounce of these shrooms, and we only ate an eighth of them. I remember I have this vivid memory of sitting in front of the mirror after eating these 3.5 grams of shrooms that were really good. And I'm just staring in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm the fairy king. Look at me. I look like the fairy king. No, but like I physically looked at, like I could see myself, but I could see this other me. And it was like this thing. Weird thing is, you start reading about the Anunnaki and see the statues and the depictions of Anunnaki. And I'm like, that's actually what I fucking looked like when I was on these shrooms. And then I went and ran around the university in my underwear for the rest of the night saying, I'm the fairy king. And I'm just running around in my boxers, bro. It was a weird night. I am
They
shocked.
put you in jail?
No, I was shocked they didn't call the cops. I mean, it was weird. And then I woke up the next morning. I'm like, did that happen? I looked down at my feet. They're covered in mud and dirt. I'm like, yep, that happened.
What about LSD? Is it real prevalent up there?
In certain circles, it is. It is part of the microdose movement in terms of so you can buy liquid LSD microdose kits now at the little shroom stores that are kind of semi-legal, like pot used to be here. I'd say less people now do acid. Acid is still very much prevalent in terms of the performing arts circles and the music festivals, EDM festivals, Burning Man, things like that, and those types of things. So there are pockets of usage, but I wouldn't say it is anywhere near as common or colloquial in terms of basic use as it used to be back in the day. I actually have a funny story about microdosing on acid. I was at a film thing. So it was a show I was on called Shadow of the Rougarou. And it was the private showing for the cast and crew that we did before it came out on Lumi. Check it out, everybody. It's on Lumi, which is the streaming service of the Aboriginal Television Programming Network. Aboriginal ATPN. That's it. Yeah, there we go. But it's called Shadow of the Rougarou. It's a 6-piece miniseries. So all 6 episodes is like roughly an hour, just over an hour. It's not very long. But so I was at this after party, and the guy who did all the special effects makeup art. So he's an artist. He makes crazy monsters for films. He's been doing it for 40 years. He's a cool dude in his mid to late 50s. And so we're outside, and I'm smoking a joint with him. And he goes, oh, hey, do you want a microdose on some acid? I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, bud. Let's do it. So I
want to try that.
And then he goes, oh, bro, that's not a macro dose. That's like 15 or 16 hits. I was like, fuck it. So I survived for about another hour at this event. I'm okay. And I felt bad because there was this server. And it was actually before, funnily enough, I was fully separated, even though I knew maybe we were separated at this point. I just hadn't accepted it. I can't remember now. But anyway, I met the server. She was fucking gorgeous. But then I got too weird. I couldn't stay. I may have lost my next ex-wife that night. But and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, God, I've got about 10 minutes to get out of here before this really hits. So I go up, and I'm trying. It took me a few times to pay with my debit card to figure it out. But I got it to work. And I walk out of this thing, and I get hit by all the lights of downtown and all the cabs and everything everywhere. And I was like, oh, shit, bud. Okay, I'm just going to walk around until I register where I am. So I just kind of was doing these loops for about an hour, higher and shit on acid downtown until I finally registered where I was. I was like, okay, I'm on a street that I know. I can get a cab now, and I can cab back to where I live. So
Did you laugh a lot?
I think I would have if I wasn't so stressed about being very overwhelmed by the fact that there's like all these bright neon lights everywhere and all of that. So I was a little creeped out. It wasn't a bad trip though. Like I wasn't scared, but I was concerned.
Well, the first time I ever did, I wouldn't do it. They put one in my beer. We were going to Kings Island. A bunch of guys I played football with, and they're going to love it when they see this because these guys are still good friends of mine, and they're party animals. They still like to use cannabis, all this shit. We were on our way to Kings Island and Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay, real close to Louisville.
Yeah.
Around the Ohio River. They had a huge fucking amusement park there. So we stopped right before we went into Ohio, and we were taking a piss because we were drinking beer.
Texas Squatch. Sorry, there's a big sexy Texan who was our guest last week. He's like, say hi to me. Hey Texas. Say hi, Texas Squatch, Russell.
Oh, I want to meet him.
Yeah, I know.
I want to fish. I want to go fishing. I fish in Lake Fork, Ray Roberts, Tawakoni, all them fucking lakes on the East Texas. You tell him I want to go fishing with him.
Well, he's listening. He can hear you. He's down in the Corpus Christi area. He go fishing all the time. He goes hunting too.
I can fly down to Corpus. I can fucking fly down to Corpus, and it take me an hour and a half to get to Corpus.
So Mikey, if Russell comes and visits you in Corpus Christi, will you take him fishing, Mikey?
Got to take me fishing.
He's going to want to get high with you too, though, bud.
But anyways, he put acid in our beer, man, and we went to fucking Kings Island, and I remember it took us 2 hours to get in the fucking park because we were laughing so much.
Actually, here, Russell, you want me to bring him on the show? You can talk to him yourself.
Sure, man, bring him on.
Okay, 2 seconds. I got to use the phone that's the crop cam because it's the only thing I have to actually do.
Go ahead.
Tell people a story while I go figure this out. 1 second.
Tell people the story while I figure this out. There goes a dog. Now my dog's gonna start fucking freaking out.
Shut up.
So I think. Okay.
All right. So, 1 second. Russell, keep talking to everybody. Tell them a random story. I'm going to take a quick leak before Mikey comes and joins us. 1 second.
The story is we all did acid and we rode a roller coaster called the Beast. And at the time, I think this was like 1982. The Beast was like one of the best roller coasters around. Best roller coaster ride I'd ever been on, thanks to LSD. Can you hear that doggy? Huh? Can you hear that doggy? Where is it? Where is it? Wo ist der Hundchen, huh? Wo ist der Kleine? Whoa. My dog thinks he's on, there's another dog here. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Are you hungry?
Puppy! Shush. Go lie down.
Puma.
All right. I'll be right there, Russell.
All
All right. There we go. Okay, so Texas Squatch, if you're there. Oh, he's already on the show. He's seen the link here. Okay, so Russell, I am now bringing on Texas Squatch. Say hi.
What's up, brother?
Howdy. What's going on?
Where you at?
I'm at home.
No, you in Corpus?
Oh, yeah.
I'm in Dallas.
Come on, man. I'm stoned. Make it easier question than that.
But yeah, so Russell was asking there, Mikey, if he come down Corpus, can you take him fishing? Show him some fishing down in Corpus way. Yep. Hell yeah.
Yep. That's cute.
Guess what Mikey's been experimenting with there, Russell?
What?
Growing shroomies.
Hey,
You
stop
going-
putting that out here on the shit, dude.
Yeah,
Get
go
my
in
ass in
Texas,
trouble.
bro. We're in Texas. We can't talk a whole lot on this yet.
That'll be all right. Russell grows.
No, the hell it won't, dude. You don't know how our damn law enforcement is down here.
That's just it. That's why we fight, Josh. Our law down here are some real pricks. This is a prison state.
No, I hear you. But my point is, though, part of the activism is standing up and being loud and proud. Well, I didn't mean to make you.
That's all right, bro. That's all right. Hey, man, we take it with a grain of salt here, don't we?
Pretty much.
All right. So, well, then what are we going to talk about? What kind of fishing do you want to do, Russell, down in Corpus Christi?
Now, I like to fish. I go to Cabo. I like to fish anywhere I go. But here in Texas, in East Texas, and see, he's down on the coast. In East Texas, we got alligators.
We got them here too.
I know, but these damn alligators fucking eat your shit up, and people don't realize it. We get people come from Arkansas and Missouri, come down and fish, and they'll hire a guide, and they'll get a 4 or 5 pound bass and think that's something. They'll hook into a 10 pounder later on, and the alligator will get it. And they're like, "What the fuck?" Welcome to Texas, bitch.
Biggest gator I ever got me a $400 fine.
Yeah, see, that's just it. You hear what he said, Josh? The game wardens are fucking. They got more power down here. The game wardens got more power than the fucking police officers do.
Hey, you know the worst part about this was when I hooked into him. I intentionally caught him. I hooked into him on the last day of gator season, probably about 10:30 at night.
April or
I
September?
fought and wrangled and messed with that sumbitch until 4 o'clock the next morning. Gator season is now over. Well, got him back to the house, and the wife wouldn't let me kill it. She called the game warden. "Hey, I need y'all to come get this gator out of my yard." Well, now I got a fine for possession of a live gator out of season. 12 foot, 400 pounds, and took me over 8 hours to catch.
Only in Texas, baby. I mean, come on now.
We're going to change it, though. Josh, we need to get you down here. Seriously. Texas is wonderful. A lot of people will leave. A lot of people left Texas to go to like Colorado, Oklahoma because weed's legal.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I ain't never leaving Texas.
Well, to be fair, I mean, like I've always had intention of buying property eventually down in Texas. I'd be fully okay with doing a farm down there once it opens up too.
It will.
I want some steaks, man. You know what I'm saying? And for me, like, I mean, as a musician, I'm a blues player. Texas blues is kind of my thing. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Johnny Winter.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's from my hometown, brother. He buried across the street from me.
Yeah, right. No, and that's what I want to check out, man. Like, I mean, visit the grave, do that. That'd be cool. Get some giant, steaks and shit. Some of those weird things I see on like Beard Meats Food on YouTube.
Well, you know what? We should do a show down there with the Texas Squatch. All right, we should all get together and go down there and film a show fishing, because I'm telling you, where he's at is some of the best fishing in the world, man.
I'm going in the morning, yo. I've already got the kayak loaded up, and I know I am. Thank you. I'm a pretty asshole too, ain't I? I got a kayak loaded up on in the truck. I'm gonna go hit the flats first thing in the morning. Wait till about an hour after sunup. I'm gonna go hit the surf after that and kayak some large baits out. See if I can get some big old sharks or something.
See what Texas is like, man. You can go out there and he can go out there and throw the bait net and get all his bait and fish all day long, and nobody fuck with him and not see one person the rest of the day.
Pretty much.
That's heaven, bro. And when you're fishing, that's heaven.
Well, see, the thing for me with that is, like, I mean, like, there was a brief moment where I was talking, and I mean, these people never panned out. They never got back to me, really. So whatever, it is what it is. I was actually briefly entertaining the concept of going to work in the States, actually, for some of these pot companies in legal states. One was up by Boston, actually, there. But I was willing for a brief moment to actually relocate down to somewhere in the States. I mean, I could definitely come for a visit at least. Well, what we got there, Mikey? You got some babies going?
Yeah, I'll give you a tour on the way in real quick. So we got, these are all re-vegging clones of Gazer's Madness, all these. And then that is a re-vegging clone of Purple Haze to Biscotti Kid.
All right. And you know what re-vegging means, right, Russell?
Schnallsberry.
Is that one of the F2s, which will be releasing
That's
on
F3.
Oh, it's an F3. All right.
That's F2.
There's an F2. Okay. Sweet.
And we got a bunch of mystery autos. And as you notice, this side of the planter is now empty from what you saw it the other day. But that's okay. We have 102 Bloody Berry seeds soaking in the water right now.
The Texas sun, they love that Texas sun, brother.
Oh, yeah.
How'd that
my
purple
dogs might
shit
go
you were
ballistic
growing
for a
turn
minute.
out? That's okay.
Fine. It's fine. Have a seat on the couch, man. Let me see. Yep, there he goes. So that's the last of the geyser we got left.
Hell yeah.
And harvested those 3 yesterday.
Nice. I like your strip. Good strip on there. Good job.
And plenty of sprouts getting ready for another breeding project. We're going to continue the illegal alien line. So we're going to cross our illegal alien into some ROFL, some London pound cake crossed with purple haze, some of Gazzer's K-Town cheese, one of Ben's random ones. And those all get put under there.
Hell yeah.
That's a double squatch rack there, Russell.
That's the big sexy.
Yeah, I was supposed to fly down to Texas and actually marry Texas Squatch and his now wife. But because of COVID, I found out that I was going to be thrown into a quarantine hotel on the way back and charged $3 to $5 grand for it.
Well, I tell you what, I tell you what, Josh. Well, listen, I'm just starting that deal with Jeffrey, but we might be able to get you in, and we could go down there.
Go say,
and we could do a whole show down there.
Hey man, I'm down to be a part of the TV show, bro. 100%.
Mike, I can get on an airplane. I'm retired from American, so I can get on an airplane and be at CRP. I can be in Corpus in 2.5 hours.
Hell yeah. Just do me a favor, man. I try to drill into his head, but he's Potsquatch. You don't pay no attention half the time. We don't use my government name on here. It's Tex or Texas Squatch, either one.
No problem, brother. I read you loud and clear.
Yeah, but so
I
Russell,
appreciate it.
You know what?
I can connect you to in terms of the fishing trip and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Mikey's got some interesting things too. Sorry,
you mean Potsquatch? You mean Texas Squatch? Yeah, Texas Squatch.
Sorry, Squatch of Texas. I made the boo boo right after I did it, but you know,
right after I called you out on it, homie.
Hey, no, you didn't call me out. You were like, "Nah, dumb fuck never does it." And so at least I was staying consistent.
That's technically calling you out. I put your name out there and said you call me by my government all the time.
Hey, Tex Squatch. I'll give you a little example. He screwed up in front of my wife the other night. He was talking to my wife, and my wife's Hispanic. She barely speaks English, and he's talking to her, and some of the shit came out of his mouth. She was like. He's
a younger version. Honestly, this doesn't surprise me one iota.
I'm actually older than Mikey. Mikey's younger than I am.
I'm the old fucker here, right?
I would assume so. Yes.
But I'll be 60. I'll be 60 pretty soon. But guys, life has gotten so much better because of this whole plant medicine and those mushrooms, man. I'm telling you. Those mushrooms here in Texas, they're getting ready to legalize them here in Texas.
They better get off their ass because right now, here, you know what, Potsquatch? Let me tell you what. Right now, Texas is still so fucked up about this that we are at the point, if you go out camping or hiking and you got those little fuckers with you, and you get caught with even the crumbs in the bag, that's a felony and prison time. Not no fine. It's felony, prison.
Not for long.
Crumbs of mushrooms in a bag.
Not for long.
They need to get off their ass and change it.
We're trying, brother. We're definitely trying.
But that's ridiculous, right? Like, I mean, you know, like, America has better uses of tax-paying money, I think, right? State taxes, federal taxes. Why are we putting people in prison for something that's benefiting your lives? You know, it's like at the end of the day, like I don't know, maybe it goes back to the big pharma, like a happy, healthy America. That's bad for business, right? You want everybody fucking having some health disorder or having this happen or this or that because that's where money comes from. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I got to be careful. I'm starting to sound like Russell Brand.
I used to think he was kind of crazy, but lately he's making sense.
Certain things that he says are this is where the problem with Russell Brand is. He takes everything out of context, just like Ben Shapiro, just like all these other idiots, and they utilize singular factoids and then they paint it into their own narrative and manipulate things rather than showing a big picture and talking about the whole big picture and how it relates to themselves. Anyone can take a singular fact or this or a list of facts and then paint a picture, right? So that's where my issue with Russell Brand especially comes in, is that he's not really being intelligent. He's being a Xerox machine, spouting out things he found on Google that are technically true, most of them.
But you got to understand, in the United States, they cancel you for speaking out here and that lately. If you speak out, they fucking cancel your ass, bro.
No, I feel you, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I speak out all the time. I never get in trouble, and I'm.
That's why I don't think you do feel them though, is because you don't get in trouble for your speaking out. Like, it's different, bro.
It's because my speaking out.
We need to bring him down here. We need to bring him down here, Texas Squatch. You know that. I was explaining that to him the other day. I'm like, bro. He's like, oh, it's just like the Wild West. I'm like, no, it's completely different. Right now, you got to speak Spanish.
For the most part, yeah.
Nosotros hablamos solamente español aquí en la casa.
Yo hablo un
myself into or out of trouble.
I think we should go down to Corpus and school our young Jedi Knight here.
Yeah, I grew up in Puerto Vaca, bro. That's like pretty much Mexico.
You don't fuck around in Puerto Vaca at all.
No, I grew up there for 20 years.
And tell me, we used to get good weed, man. We used to get good weed, but down in far, down on the border.
Man, you want to talk about some true Sensimilla skunk? Oh,
and it was cheap. Yeah,
$60 an ounce.
Black market all day long. And now in Oklahoma, the price of freedom, they won't even go recreational in Oklahoma because they don't want the cartels up there.
Yeah, no, well, that's the real thing, right? Like,
it's too late.
Yeah, grew up with members of the cartel. Like
I've never had any direct correlations, but I've seen movies, so I can only imagine.
Movies are just full of shit.
That's my point.
Thank you, Texas Squatch.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is I can only imagine what the reality is based off of what I do know.
I'll give you the reality. Texas is losing their fucking ass because of fucking states like Oklahoma, New Mexico, even Louisiana went legal. And guess what? Mexico, it's wide open, brother. Mexico, everything's legal.
Yeah, didn't they fully legalize pretty much everything now, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And we go to Mexico all the time, 2-3 times a year.
When did they go legal in terms of that reality?
Well, the government is still dragging their feet, but as far as legalized, in 2018, they figured, okay, boom, it's time. When I was there in Cabo, I'll give you an example. I was down there with Cabo Cannabis Company, and we went fishing right there in the bay. When we got back, there was 4 or 5 little pharmacies opening up. And they're like, hey, Rambo, you need anything? I'm like, no, I'm good. I got my smoke.
Rambo.
but they're like, mira, ¿qué necesito? And they had anabolic steroids.
Yeah,
all right?
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
Because they're looking at me. They're like, hey, you used to be a bodybuilder. I still am, kind of. Just got a fucking pacemaker. But they were out there, offered me pain pills, muscle relaxers, anything you want, they got.
Yep.
So why in the fuck is Texas dragging their feet with this Texas compassionate use program, 1%? I mean, they're in legislation right now. This is a legislation year.
Yeah,
all the cannabis groups are down there fighting.
Well, the 1% rule is just it's an insult to injury, really, in my humble 2 cents, right? Like, I mean, it's like we'll acknowledge a real reality of a medicinal benefit for our people, but we're still going to tell them to go fuck themselves, actually, though.
But
Like,
Texas, think about it, all right? Texas is another country, Josh.
Oh,
Texas.
I know. It is its own thing. I've at least learned that from Mikey, right? Like as Mikey puts it, he goes, I ain't a Yankee.
You mean Texas
I ain't
squad.
an American. I'm a Texan. And I was like, okay, I feel you.
But I mean, slowly but surely it's changing, because when I came back here in the 80s, it was crazy. It was real crazy. But we're slowly getting close to the legalization. If the damn government would do like they say they're going to do and change the Schedule 1, we don't have to worry about nothing else.
Well, and I think that really needs to be done, because I mean, like I'd be curious to see the amount of tax dollars.
Thank you.
That are being wasted for incarcerating people for plants and some shrooms that are naturally occurring things on this planet, right? Also, too, Mikey, people are asking, you're wearing a Godsmack shirt, right?
Texas, yeah.
Oh, fuck, sorry. Yeah, everyone's very excited about your Smack shirt there, Squatch, Texas Squatch there. I'll eventually get to it. There you go, everybody. God,
how come nobody's talking about my fucking shirt?
To be fair, I can't see it, and I don't give a fuck about dude's fashion. I mean,
it's
you ain't got nothing there worth me staring at. I'm not gonna check out your shirt. Sorry.
It's from Argentina. It's from Argentina, bro. We travel around a lot. Me and my wife, we like to stay in Argentina in the wintertime because it gets a little chilly down here in Texas. In Dallas, it gets cold.
Oh, I believe it.
So we go to Argentina around Thanksgiving every year and come back about this time every year.
Argentina. I need to check out Argentina.
The weed in Argentina is getting a lot better. The mycology, the little mushrooms, is getting a lot better, and everything's legal down there, man. They're getting really good at leaving the people alone. The government screws you bad enough anyways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing, when they went legal, they made sure the government didn't get involved because they're watching what's happening here in America.
Oh, just look at what's happening in Canada. We fucked up weed even worse than you guys have so far.
Yeah, let's talk about it
too.
Let's talk about it. I'm not going to go into a fucking dispensary and pay $70 for 1 gram of dabs, plus pay their $4 tax when they're telling me that it's still federally illegal.
Oh, I know.
I'm definitely not spending that if I can get it for 10 a gram in an illegal state.
Thank you. and you know, a lot of people are saying, how much you pay for a pound of weed? I can remember paying $2,700 a pound. Oklahoma, they're sending $400 or $500 pounds out, and it's the same stuff.
Well, the same things happened here, right? Like, I mean, like when I was young in the black market, the gray market, call it what you will, the golden age, when we could actually live as farmers. I mean, you know, and that's where there's this big movement, and it's funny because like most growers, you know, we're usually a little more left leaning, and you know, we think Trump's an idiot, and not to bring politics into that, but we did adopt one of his slogans. And so, you know, he was all like, make America great again. So this is the thing that's big in Canada now is make pot illegal again. We're like, if this is what legalization is, we don't want it. Let's go back to the way it was.
Well, I mean, you can ask Texas Squatch. Now we got everybody carries a gun. People look at us a little differently because 75%, especially where he's at, 75% of the people are conservative. All right,
he's got his strap right there.
There you go. I carry a Sig Sauer. I got an H&K. I got a shotgun in my room. I got a fucking a Sig underneath my pillow.
You want to see
live in Texas,
guns,
bro.
Boys? Here's my guns right here, baby. You know, I was coming ready to rock. You know,
but see, Josh, actually, you got to understand, you're a complete different animal. When you get down here, you need to see what's going on.
Oh, I'll come check it out. I'm down. I'll tell you a funny story about Texans reacting funnily to how Canadians do things, though. You guys will enjoy this story. Mikey, you may have already heard this story. So I was talking to the blind grower. So he's an ex-military SEAL guy, and he was a badass, fighter dude. That's what he did for his whole career, and he has a lot of health issues now. He's also blind too. And I was talking to him and Texas Pete. He's a big half Texan, half Mexican guy down in. He's probably actually really close. Both these guys are really close to you, Russell, I think, actually. But anyway, so this is back when me and Dottie lived at our first house, right? So I was a day of where we just been shooting the shit, having business meetings, and then we were all kind of having a drink and a toke and having a laugh. And so Dottie gets home. It's about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. It's blackout. It's we live in the woods. And so Dottie calls me while I'm in this video call, and she's like, "Hey, I'm trying to bring the groceries in, but there's a bear in the driveway. Could you come help me get the groceries in?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, fuck, babe, don't even worry about it." So I pop back in the video call. "Hey boys, I'll be right back. I gotta go help the wife get the the groceries in. There's a bear in our driveway." They're like, "Oh fuck, do you got a gun?" I was like, "Nah, but I got a can of PBR and a knife. I'll be fine." So these Texans who are so attached to their guns and loving their guns, and they're like, "I need my gun." And I was like, "Fuck it, buddy. Just give me a hunting knife. I'm good to go. It's a black bear. It's basically a giant dog anyway." And then they're just like, "Canada's a special kind of weird, crazy, I think there." And it's like, that's like, we are nice, but I mean, and so it's like, I just want to, clarify. It's not like we're, these weird pansy things. We're just like, if it's a black bear, we're gonna take it.
I've been fishing up there, man. I've been in Ontario. Ontario's got a lot of conservative people.
Oh, I know. That's
why Toronto. Hey, Toronto. I saw Rush in fucking Toronto, man.
Fuck yeah. No, I mean, T-Dot, if anything, T-Dot's probably one of the more liberal places in Ontario. But yeah, no, Ontario.
Well, Texas ain't liberal. I can tell you that. You come to Texas and you better be ready, because people they carry their guns openly here.
I'm okay with that. I don't mind people carrying guns. Like,
good.
That's all right. But the thing I'm worried about though is man, if I hear some stupid shit I don't agree with, I'm gonna fucking run my mouth, man. I don't back down, gun or not. Fuck that shit, bro. And so that's where I'm I don't know if I should go to Texas.
Josh, earlier I dropped my niece off, the one that you're in love with. And I'm getting some gas, right? And this guy walks up and he's like, "Hey man," drunk off his ass, "let me ask you something." And I'm like, "Mira, yo no hablo español, eso no es español." And I got my gun right here in my fanny pack. And this dude, I don't know if this guy's fucked up on drugs or what. All right. And he's like, "Yo, man, yo." And I'm like, "No entiende. Yo hablo solamente español." And the guy's looking at me like, "All right, fuck it." Think about it. How would you react if somebody came up to you and started fucking with you here in downtown Dallas? You want to be able to protect yourself.
But my point is, I guess my basic point is, I don't need a gun to protect myself. Even if they have a gun, dude. I've been shot, I've been shanked a bunch of times. I'm gonna get it done. I mean, dude, bro. At the end of the day, it's a lot. Cause I come from Canada, right? We got per capita more guns than America, actually, but we have very strict gun laws, right? So, for example,
our criminals have guns too, Josh. Every one of our criminals carry guns.
Yeah, but you're missing my point though. So in Canada, right? We have different laws than you guys, right? We can't defend our house with weapons. I have up to or less than force is what I'm allowed. So if you come into my house with a gun, I'm going to come at you with a bat, and I'm legally allowed to do whatever. But at the end of the day,
I don't like those odds.
I do. I love it. I don't need a gun to win, man. I if I'm gonna fucking fight somebody who's gonna roll into my crib, I want to get my hands on you because I'm gonna enjoy this. But so our mindsets here, right, are like that. In Canada, if you point a gun at someone, it's an automatic 5-year jail sentence.
Well, I think we should be talking about cannabis now, honestly.
Well, I'm just saying, this isn't a gun channel, but I mean, it is an interesting difference. But let's talk about weed titties. So, okay, Mikey.
Texas will legalize. I think Texas will legalize in the next 2 years. What do you think, Potsquatch or Texas Squatch?
I think it needs to legalize as fast as fucking possible.
Well, I agree, but I think realistically, because of what's happening.
I honestly don't see it happening. You heard what Abbott said. It'll be a cold day in hell before he legalizes marijuana here.
Fuck him.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Fuck that motherfucker, dude. I'm a member of Normal. I go out and vote for legalization every fucking time it comes around.
Hey, are you in Corpus Christi Normal?
Yeah.
I know those guys. Dude, I'm going to come down. I'm in DFW Normal. I'm friends with all those guys.
Hey.
Yeah, we need to get together, brother.
I ain't scared. Come on.
Come on, Josh. We got to get your ass down here and fucking school you, brother.
I mean, school, or at least just show me your cultural norms. I mean, I'm going to
No, I'm talking about the fucking Acapulco Gold.
I'm down, man. I'm down, man. I'm just hoping I can collect some beans to take back with me, man. I'll bring some shit for trade. I'll probably mail it to Mikey very soon. I mean, Texas Squatch, for fuck's sakes. Sorry.
Can you bring seeds down here, Josh?
I think so.
Pretty sure you can.
Yeah. Well, because it's federally, seeds aren't illegal now.
No.
You guys at least did that one.
Yeah, seeds are no problem. In Texas, you can grow hemp too, and a lot of people are growing hemp. So another thing, these cops, they're not going to come to your house and fuck with you unless you've got a huge operation. Because honestly, I know some friends of mine that are growing hemp in Tyler, and they got fields of that shit, and they turned it into to hand lotion and towels, all kinds of stuff.
Yep. So I'm also listening. I'm just reading people's messages here. Hi, Alvin.
Man, this playback is fucking with me. Hold on. All right, now I'm not hearing you twice.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're super high, that's probably not helping anything either.
It's not, bro. I ate one of my brownies. I've smoked a few blunts, several fucking joints. I'm ripping on the bong. I'm sitting here about to spark up another joint. I mean, give me a goddamn bone, you know? I hear what I say or what y'all say, and then 3 seconds later, I hear it again come from my TV because I got my neighbor watching right now. So, anyway, yeah, moving on. I forgot what the fuck I was talking about. Feedback fucked me up.
I could hear it. I could hear myself talking like 10 seconds later.
So, well, here, let's have fun. So, Russell, right now, what are you dabbing on? What was like you showed us your dabs there a little bit. What's in that one there? Tell us what that one is.
I'm putting together dinner right when you fucking called me out. I'm smoking on some Blue Dream. All right.
Beauty.
Indica, because I'm done with my workout. Beforehand, I was smoking my Acapulco Gold. We grow that in Oklahoma, and we grow Blue Dream. And my mushrooms, I grow in a tent. All right, and those are only for me. I'm also smoking on some sherbet cake concentrate. This comes from this straight sherbet cake, and it comes from Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is the black market in Texas, guys. All right. This is going to run you about $25 a gram on the average. Unless you buy the whole thing, and it will run you about $10 a gram.
Yeah.
But see, that's the black market. You go to a dispensary, you're going to pay a lot more than that.
Yeah. Well, I'm smoking. Dogs, shut up! We have neighbors. 1 second, everybody. I'm going to mute my mic just for a sec so I can yell at the dog.
Man, he keeps calling you by your name, and I keep trying to. Hey, bro, what's wrong with that?
He's been calling me by my name in video chat almost every day for the last 6 years, so it's a hard habit for him to break.
My wife was sitting there talking to him the other day, and then he just started rattling off some shit. And I'm like, no, man. No, you can't say that in front of my wife. She's religious. My wife doesn't use cannabis. She doesn't use anything. She's very religious, but she loves what it's done to me.
Wow.
She does. She just loves what it's done for me. So now we're getting ready to go on tour. We're going to travel around, and we got a guy who's going to follow us on my cannabis and psilocybin journey. We're going to go to Mexico. We're going to go to Argentina. We're going to go to Germany. I'd like to bring them down to Corpus, bro, and show them Texas, because I really want to. I am the biggest Texas fan in the world. Anything Texas, I'm gonna pull for Texas. I'm a Longhorns fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm a Houston Astros fan. You know, I love fucking Texas. I just hate this cannabis laws. These cannabis laws.
I'm not a fan of our laws either.
Man, I got chickens in my front yard, man.
I used to have turkeys, chickens, guineas.
I got them all. And people are like, where do you live? I live in Dallas. I live in the city. Come on, guys. Amazon's delivering my stuff. But yeah,
Todd Johnson actually had a pretty good question up here. He said, "How does it need to be priced for growers and sellers to make money?"
I was saying,
well, first of all, you gotta.
I didn't realize it.
Good job, genius. Damn it. First of all, if you grow it and sell it yourself, you go off your costs. So to help everybody out in the long run, your production cost needs to be stupid low. That way your selling cost can be low, which gets into like I do with my organics and shit. If you can recycle and reuse every aspect of your grow, if I were to sell it, I could legitimately get away with $100 a no and feel comfortable about it. You know, because A, that's cheaper than you're gonna find anywhere around here. It's $250 a no here. And B, like if I only put $100 in to do that whole run, well, dude, let's go. You know, y'all get it cheap, I put it out cheap.
Well, see, and that's the thing, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, it's kind of like a sort of like a happy medium, right? Like, I mean, so right now the prices are like in terms of the gray market, the black market, call it what you will here in Canada, have dropped to the floor. So, like when I was a kid, when I was younger, when I was first getting into this shit, like, we were getting 26 to 32 a pound on like the tank, and that's maybe a smidge high. Let's be honest, but like, if you can get as a grower like per pound, okay, and if you're getting 18 to 21, let's say, for a high end, we're talking high end, perfectly done cannabis, hand manicured. It's fucking this, it's fucking that, it's fucking BC bud, baby. It's quads, it's reality. 18 to 21 to the farmer a pound, I think, is a very fair price. I personally believe that leaves more than enough room to make it. Yes, does it mean that the retail end is a smidgen higher? Yeah, but you got to have stores not gouging, right? So like you can grow or acquire a pound, okay, at 18 to 21, and you can go flip that at like $180, $200 a chicken, right? And
I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in just growing my own medicine, though.
No, I agree. We're just that Todd Johnston's question was about the market itself, right? Like how should it exist to make a healthy market, both in terms of like the small farmer and then the consumer. Where would be a happy place in that world? Like that's kind of where my brain's at in terms of the basic pricing mechanisms that should be something that both sides could be successful, frankly. Also, just to share with the Texans, because if it was Texas, this motherfucker would have gotten shot, I'm sure. But this is Canada, so we don't lock our doors. And sometimes people randomly walk in your house. I just had a dude, he's my neighbor. I know who he is. But to be fair, like even the people that in this building know me really well. Like you don't just come in my apartment. But luckily, I'm a tolerant man. And he motherfucker just because I'm sure he could hear me talking, so he knows I'm here. But he walks in the door. He's this he's on again, off again, recovering addict from I believe it's crystal meth. He's a nice old guy, but he's a little fucking weird. And he's like he just fucking walks in my house because he wanted to offer fucking doing watching my dogs for me and shit. And I'm like, well, one, I don't really trust anyone with my animals almost at all. And it's very sweet, but one, don't walk into my home like that. Two, I would never trust you with my animals, bro. Like, dude, I'm not trying to be mean here, but like, oh my God, that was fucking weird. I'm feeling weird about that. Just walks into my fucking house. I mean, I didn't.
Love hurts.
Ask Texas Squatch what would happen if that happened down here.
So Texas, I mean, I figured it'd probably be a quick pistol whip at least, if not a couple slugs thrown. Like here, what's if that happened in Texas? Because this actually happened during the live stream. I just had a random neighbor walking my house. So if that happened there, Texas, what would happen? What would your reaction be?
Well, they're not showing a whole lot on the news right now, but people are coming and they're helping these undocumented immigrants come across our border, and it's causing a lot of problems. I mean, they're kids are getting raped. People are dying. I mean, it's really fucking bad, dude. It's bad. Ain't no sugarcoating. It's fucking bad. Our border is bad. It's wide open. Drugs are coming across it. Fentanyl's coming across it. A lot of criminals, people who want to do us harm, are coming across it.
We got people being kidnapped out of here and taken back over there.
Yeah, and they don't talk about it because the fucking news don't want to talk about it. The fucking mainstream media don't want to talk about it. All right, because America's doing so fucking good. I see it here. I went to the fucking doctor the other day, and a goddamn Haitian came out and tried to wash my fucking window. And luckily, I speak French. And I'm like, what are you doing here? He goes, man, I came across the border, paid $8,000, and they brought me up here on a fucking bus and dropped me off. I'm like, you poor bastard. I can't help you. Get the fuck away from me. It's getting bad, Josh.
No, I believe it. I believe it, man. And like, this is where I guess, for me, like, I think about being in Canada, right? Like, and I'm very lucky and blessed. Like, we don't really have any of these types of problems in Canada. Like, we are very pro-immigration.
Well, we do. They're not talking about the fucking cartels killing people. They're fucking killing people right in the fucking open.
Okay, this is getting a bit heavy, guys, so I'm going to make a joke and redirect this just slightly. Okay? So meanwhile in Canada, guy walks in your house, offers to watch your puppies when you're at work if you need help. Single dog dads getting taken care of by home invasions in Canada. But I mean, I consider myself very lucky to live in a place like this, and I have every heart and compassion to what the problem of actuality along that borderline in the States is right now. I mean, you're not wrong that it's not something that's widely publicized on any of the news outlets.
I lost a brother, man. I lost a brother to fentanyl.
No, I know. And this is a real thing of, it is an issue that is being faced by these border states, border towns, border cities. Fucking Christ, puppies, just slide down. But it's like, how do you deal with it? Obviously, because like, I mean, that's not a new story. It's just gotten worse, right? Wouldn't you say that though? Like, it's not a news story, as it were, right? Like, it's just gotten worse though in terms of the amounts of people that are kind of rushing to get in. You know what I mean? Like, and it's overloading the system. I remember reading an article in a paper where it was like one of the it's like it was where they process people who are undocumented when they come in, and it's like a center where they do that. And it was
we're sending them to Canada now, and now they want to come back to the States. We're the New York mayor, Eric Adams, is sending our people, our illegal aliens that are coming in. He's sending them to Canada, and now they don't want to go back to Canada. They were like, we don't want to be. Canada's too cold.
It's not that cold. We are a weird sort here, though. You got to be tough to live here. I remember when I met my one buddy. So he came in through normal channels, came from Somalia, and he's as Canadian as I am now. And a great guy, tiny little guy, though, comes from Somalia in Africa, right? So he's not great at the cold. And but he's stuck it out. He's worked the pipelines, man. He went out there, and I remember one day I was sitting at the pub, and he walks in for work, and he's got these giant icicles frozen to his face, and he's like, man, and you grew up in this shit? I was like, yeah, bro. It's kind of fun though.
We had snow. We had snow in Dallas this year.
Let's talk about that. Can we
It
talk
was
about
bad.
that? The weather, because you guys have had some really fucking weird weather in Texas and Oklahoma too. I remember talking to Ben in Oklahoma. He had to weatherproof his chicken coops, and I was like, wow. Like, he's like, yeah, bro, we've never had a cold flash like the one that's about to come. I gotta make sure my chickens don't fucking die on my ass.
Well, where Texas watches, they have fucking hurricanes. All right, they have hurricanes big time where he's at. Where we at, we have tornadoes. I'm in North Texas. But yeah, the weather here, it's crazy. And we'll get those Canadian cold fronts come out of here, and we had snow for like 5 days. I'm not used to snow in Dallas.
That is weird. Like, I don't think of Texas and go, that is synonymous with snow.
But that's why it's
his phone may have died, or he may have just left. I don't know. But anyway,
could you imagine how much money Texas could make growing cannabis? I'll fill you in. Texas is also a vacation state like Florida. We have the ocean.
Oh yeah, I've got old friends from the pub that go down to Texas on their winter birding.
Well,
but like, you want to know where I think Texas would make a killing in? Like, yeah, you can grow weed, but I mean, the money to be made in growing psychoactive cannabis, I don't really think that's the cash cow anyone really thinks it is. The real cash cow.
We found out the hard way, didn't we?
Yeah, but the cash cow though, like if you guys started growing industrialized hemp, like heavily, and producing the actual fibers, because there's a lot of new companies that are popping up. There's one in Alberta here in Canada, and basically they're producing this hempcrete. So it's like this crazy building material now, and we're building 2x4s out of this shit. And so there's going to be a new explosion and transition, I believe, in the next 10 to 15 years in terms of how we're actually building homes, because this shit's cheaper than fuck to produce. It's
like you were talking to my wife the other day. That's exactly what you were talking to my wife about the other day. Yeah. If she starts making her clothing down there, okay, in Mexico, she can start buying the hemp from you.
Yeah, well, or the guys I know in the game, but like it's for everything. Like, and so, but like the potential, like for example, you could make this thing. It's an old technology. I call it hempy steel, right? Okay. Ford fucked around with it a lot too back in the day, building some of his first vehicles. But the shit's on average anywhere, depending on how you make it, 8 to 15 times stronger than steel. It's super lightweight. So think about that though, right? You know, you make like a 1 centimeter thick plate of hempy steel, super lightweight, but it's 10 to 15 times stronger than steel. So like, that's crazy. Like, the applications just for so many different things are huge. And I believe though we'd be much better off and eco-friendly too if we were building our houses out of hemp-based building materials, because at the end of the day, there's so ergonomic to thermal realities. Like, I mean, it'll keep you cool in the summer and it'll keep you warm in the winter. And it's tougher than shit, doesn't break down. It's nigh on indestructible. I mean, this just sounds like smart ideas. You know,
my producer is fucking sold on it, man. Hey, that's all he wants to do. He wants to get funding for these shows through the hempcrete and the hemp clothing. I'm on board. You know me. I'm on board.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that's the hard thing with film though, too. It's just finding funding and a way to pay for your production, right? Because it's never a guaranteed promise if it's going to sell or if you're going to have a market for it per se. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's doable. But
well, you know, it's funny. You know how you said change the subject? It's funny. So many people I know back at, 2017, 2018, everybody started investing in cannabis here in Texas. Oh, it's going to go legal. It's going to go legal. We're going to be all rich. We're going to grow the best fucking weed in the world. And, you know, I got really close to this guy, and he opened up his own farm in Oklahoma, and he invested a ton of money in it, and he has done nothing but lose. I mean, nothing but lose money.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like when it came to legalization in Canada, the people who invested in and started things at the very, very beginning made out huge. A lot of them got out of the game and they made money, but like it has been a losing scope. But so like for me, like as a grower and as a business person, that's where I was like, well, okay, there we are. I mean, I can't afford to get a farm anyway. I came close, but couldn't do it. And then it comes to be that there's no real profitability in this giant framescape. You know, you got 1,000,000,001 legal weed stores. You got government weed with regulations making you destroy your medicine. I mean, a lot of that has changed now, but I mean, it's like, you know, it's not a great product. People aren't loving it. You know what I mean? And
but I'm telling you, I have helped so many people with FICO, people that have cancer.
yeah,
I've helped them. I've hooked them up because I'm in this angel program, and people are like, I got cancer, I'm going to die, and they told me to talk to you, and I'm like, well, give me your doctor's diagnosis and stuff, and I turn it over. These people are walking around healthy now.
yeah, no,
yeah. These people were dying of cancer, bro. They were dying of cancer, and now they're walking around healthy. And you need to put them on your show.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I will, because I've got a couple of people that I've helped personally as well here. I mean, 2 stage 4 cancer patients. One was breast cancer. It sounds horrible. I'm trying to remember what the other one was, and I can't off the top of my head at the moment. It may have been, they were both women, so it may have been breast cancer for her as well. But like, it was my buddy's mom, and she's an old Greek lady. She's very conservative, you know.
See, you helped her, didn't you?
Yeah. But this is actually what led me to inventing kind of one of the things I make for a lot of medical patients now, which is where I take a full spectrum sort of traditional hash oil and I bind it into olive oil or an MCT oil. And it was quite funny because I was sitting there, and so her son approaches me. You know, he's in his late 30s, early 40s, and he's like, "Hey, like, you know, I know you're the Potsquatch. You know, like, is there something, like, my mom's got really, you know, severe cancer. Is there anything in your world that could help?" And I was like, well, like, I mean, the first thing I say to anyone who asks that question to me, I'm a cancer survivor too. You know, there's no guarantee with anything. Like, don't think it's some miracle cure that's just going to work, but it is a very beneficial thing that can totally change the stats and totally turn the tables on your fight with it. And so, like, so I started making. I was like, well, what do I make for this old Greek woman? He's like, well, I don't want it to taste too much like weed. I don't want it to be like, you know, too weird for her because she's against weed. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting at home drinking a beer, smoking a joint. I'm like, what can I make for an old conservative Greek woman?
Brownies.
Yeah, no. I need. She's diabetic. I can't do the sugars. So I'm sitting there and I go, I got it. I'll bind it into just a really nice extra virgin proper olive oil from Greece. And I asked him, I said, what's your mom's favorite extra virgin Greek olive oil? So I went and bought this obscure bottle of extra virgin olive oil and I mixed it into it. And boom, she's cancer free now. It's been cancer free now for 3 years. You know, my buddy's wife, Troy, who makes my beef jerky, he owns Mad Bull Jerky. Shout out to them. His wife has a rare type of brain cancer where it attacks the tissues around the brain stem and the hypothalamus and stuff. And she's had it for like 10 or 15 years. She was on the surgery list for attempted brain surgery. And I started helping her with this stuff. And then they started making it on their own after a while. And I'm making her a new batch of it that I've had going for a 2-year-long soak. It's a super experiment we're conducting on to see if it does anything. You know, it's got everything in the kitchen sink in it, basically. But her points went down so much, she got off the surgery list. She doesn't need to go into brain surgery now. She's good to go. She's rocking and rolling, right? Like, I mean,
this is 6,000 milligrams CBD.
Nice.
And FICO mixed together, and it's got
that'll do you.
84% THC too. So when I travel, I get on the airplane with this. They don't care. They see 6,000 milligrams CBD, but this saves my ass for a 12-hour flight to Buenos Aires. Because there ain't no way you can get on. You don't come run that airplane bathroom and hit a vape pen. That fucking alarm goes off and you're fucked.
12 hours?
12 hours to Buenos Aires from Dallas.
Wow. I'm never going to Buenos Aires.
Yes, you are.
It's so far. I'd rather drive and take like a week.
But I'm telling you, dude, it's fucking paradise.
No, it sounds nice. It sounds nice.
Well, you can check out my YouTube channel because there's plenty of Argentinian cannabis stuff on my YouTube channel.
I didn't even know that. Like, I wish I could have been sharing it. People could go to it. I mean,
Okay.
what's the name of it on YouTube, man?
It's 7:35 here in Dallas. I've been on here for 2 hours and 30 minutes. I need to eat and take a nap.
Then go eat and take a nap, brother. Thank you for joining us. I mean, the show actually normally only goes an hour and a half, but we're all having a good time. So I was like,
Texas Squatch. Get my information from him and give me a call, brother.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys. Gotta go.
Texas Squatch, I'll call you after the show. You guys peace out. I'll say goodbye to everybody.
Adios.
Later.
Adios, muchachos. Peace, Mikey. All right, everybody. Well, this has been an interesting show, hasn't it? I mean, we've covered all sorts of things and all sorts of issues, sociological, political, growing, ideological in terms of the breeding of cannabis strains. Long story short, it's been a good show. And it's been fun. I thank you for everyone who joined us. It certainly got interesting when we got two Texans in on there, didn't it? But my friends, my family, next week's show, we got another special guest coming on. So for next week's show, we're going to be having the Mad Hatter himself of, is it White Rabbit Glass or Mad Hatter Glass? I look bad now. I'm like, what's the name? They're always changing. I'm pretty sure it's the White Rabbit Glass is the formal name of the company now. But my boy goes by the Mad Hatter, and he's about all American made glass. So he's a glass purveyor of both affordable and extravagant glass pieces made from local blowers of glass all over the United States of America. So we're going to be having him on the show and do a little show and tell on some of the glass he's got there, and it'll be good there. And we'll see how that show goes. It'll probably go off on a tangent too, would be my guess. This one did, but not in a bad way. It was a good time. It was kind of a show, dancing all over the place. But hey, keeps it entertaining and fresh, I guess. But Muskoka James, can we talk about growing weed next time? Muskoka James, we can talk about growing weed anytime. You're allowed to ask questions about growing weed whenever you want. We're trying a new thing out where we bring other people on in the weed space. And so, I feel for those who are like, where's the growing content? It's always there. Just ask if you have a specific question. But we're trying to diversify. We're trying to also empower the community. We're trying to participate and not be some weird grumpy curmudgeon who just sits here and does their own thing. And so here's my commitment then. We're going to do an interview show a week, and I will try my best to also do a one-on-one show a week. How's that sound? I'm happy to do that too. And on the one-on-one shows, everybody, we can talk about growing. We can do all the questions and all of that. Does that sound good? Is that a good, compromise for you, my friends? Yeah, no, but don't worry, Muskoka. I should name the show One-on-One for Muskoka James. I'll do it once as a fun joke, and it's not a mean joke, so don't feel bad if you ever see a live stream pop-up called that. I think it'll be funny, though. But anyway, it's been a fun show. We're always trying to evolve the channel. One of the things, again, I'm kind of excited about is, one, my job's going really well. I'm really liked there. I'm slowly starting to financially recover. So we're going to be able to do some fun videos soon too, how-tos, experiments, this or that. I'm going to be also emotionally and mentally in a better place. I kind of am now, and I'm kind of getting excited about coming up with these new ideas for videos and things to do, and having fun with being Potsquatch again, shall we say. So simply put, I mean, we're going to have some really good, fun things that are old school as well. Like, you know, we're still going to be doing the cloning video. I've got a bunch of other little fun midget factoid videos I want to make. I still have every intention of making the potato battery experiment. I have every intention of doing all of these things. And I'm getting to a place where I'm getting excited about it again. I'm getting excited about playing around and fucking around and then filming it for all of you. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's going to be good, everybody. And also, too, I've got to go deposit it in the bank, but I got the cash now to order the labels, everybody. So I just got to deposit in the bank, and then we will be able to order the labels. And both Death Trap Genetics of Texas Squatch, that was just on the show, as well as our own genetic line, will be launching for all of you. And we're going to keep cranking it out and keeping it sexy, okay? But, you know, long story short, everybody, you know, the next show. Oh, Muskoka James, I was having fun with you. It's not mean or bad. I'm not shaming you. I'm not trying to publicly humiliate you. I was just having fun. It's okay. I won't lie to you. I miss talking about weed all the time, too. The show got a little weird for me today after a while, just for a brief moment there. And I'm pretty sure you could all find out exactly what time that was. But it's a show of the people. When we bring people on, we will let people's opinions be and breathe and share. And if we can't learn to do that, the world's fucked. We can never all get along anyway. But it was, there was a moment or two for me personally, but I was like, okay, be conscious to this. Let's try to navigate this conversation a slightly different way. Sorry, everybody. I'm just reading lots of things. No, there was a lot of passion on today's show, and I appreciated that. But my friend, my family, you're all fucking beautiful. You're all wonderful, and I love you. And PotsquatchSales.com will be officially open for business very soon, and I'm looking forward to that. It's been a good show, everybody. I've really enjoyed having you all here. Thank you for joining us and hanging out and having a good time. Okay. All right. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, and all that crap. All right. And remember, the true grower is the forever student. The true grower is not afraid to take risks. The true grower makes educated, stupid decisions. Love yourselves. Love your plants. And remember, we're living in a dark world. A little kindness and compassion goes a long way. We, the human race, we're all one. Just get fucking used to it. All right, peace out. See you next time. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. Bye.